Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is after 8 o'clock over here on the East Coast. Bear with me. I am still sick. I got a low grade fever still, but there was a lot of ruckus going on today. Hey B Tim, I did send you a link in case you wanted to say a few things. Voodoo doll. I did, right? Found it. It's in my intro now. There's a lot of nonsense that happened today. Quite a bit of nonsense that happened today. And there were some things I would like to address. One being the BS that the defense put out. They did not render a verdict. Therefore, there could not be any unanimous anythings. There was no verdict. Not like hard stuff to figure out. But remember, this is what the defense did throughout the entire trial. Like the entire trial. Hello. They put out a bunch of bullshit, and in their, in their very first words to like the jury in the court, they said a whole lot of bullshit that they were going to do and did exactly none of it. There is no double jeopardy because there was no verdict. Wow. People really need to know what they're talking about before they speak. There's no double jeopardy because no verdict was reached. So it can't be double jeopardy. And double jeopardy is the same charges twice. You can't be convicted of the same charges twice. So even if, say, for instance, they convicted her on murder, they could still use the lesser included of vehicular manslaughter. So like there's no double jury call. Yeah. So we're to believe that three of the jury members magically called Alan Jackson and David Yannetti. Stop it. For the love of all that is good, stop it. Because I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but the numbers were 10-2. 10-2. You can't have double jeopardy when there's no fucking verdict. That's it. I mean, if you don't know the law, please don't speak on it, because then you pass around false information to other people and you make yourself look like a dum-dum. So let's not do that. Okay. Let's not do that. Let's not. Let's stop giving out false information because it's what you want, right? And that's half the problem. Is a lot of this stuff is what these people want to believe. And the problem with it is, like, no matter how much you grasp and grasp and grasp and grasp for you wanting Karen to be innocent, and you grasping and grasping and grasping, it doesn't magically make it true. It's just not a thing. All right. It's just not. It's not a thing. Like, I mean, for the love of all that is good, double jeopardy doesn't apply. There's no verdict. Okay. Good evening, Cynthia. We just started. See, you made it this time. You made it this time. Right on time. Right on time. I didn't even do my whole intro because I'm like completely flabbergasted at the things that people believe on Twitter right now. And probably because I still have a low grade fever. But let me roll back for a second. Let me just roll back here. Okay, there's a banner at the bottom of the screen. Here's the bigger banner. There'll be a banner that runs at the bottom of the screen the entire time. It is how you can donate to our channel. We are a very small channel. We only run on donations from you guys. I like to read them out loud. If you want to be anonymous, please just write A or AN. I won't read your name or anything, but I do like to leave, read the comments or little tidbits of questions, comments, even funny little one-liners, because you guys are awesome when it comes to those. But please know that we only run on donations from our viewers, and there are costs to cover. So if I'm not calling them out and I'm not reading them, they're not coming in. So I just want everyone to be aware that that bottom ticker, and I know it's small. I say this every time because you guys yell at me, but I can't make it any bigger. So the bigger one is here. I pop it up periodically so that people don't have to put their glasses on and figure it out. I cannot figure out how to make the ticker bigger. It won't get bigger. It's as big as I can get it. But we have Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal for you people who are not in country. All right. Now that I got that out of the way, because I forgot to do that at the beginning. Oh, there's so much. There's so much. So freaking much. Okay. I want everybody to take a step back for a second and like woosah with me. Okay. Woosah. Okay. Alan Jackson and David Yannetti are hired to do one thing and one thing only: create doubt for their client. They have taken it a step further. Okay. They've done it throughout the entire trial. This is nothing new on their behalf. Do not remember when they tried a motion to dismiss after the prosecution rested. And I said, there's no fucking way in hell there's about 0% chance. I'm giving you that same 0% chance that anything gets dismissed in this case. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. It never was going to happen. And Alan Jackson and David Yannetti citing hearsay is not going to help them do it. So let's get real here. Okay. Number two, that live picture of them is very much real. I've seen the original. I know where the original came from. Not only that, but the original was then sent to numerous news outlets that then confirmed the metadata on it, as well as the people who got the original. So like all these people who are like, it's not real, it's AI. I'm here to burst your bubble. I'm sorry, it's not AI. It absolutely 100% is real. That actually happened. And it's not a good look for them. It's not a good look. It is not a good look. Sorry, not sorry. It doesn't paint Karen in the greatest light. Not that she was already painted in the greatest light, but come on, dude. Canoodling with your attorney, shame on you. Stop it. Like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And if you think for 1 second that Alan Jackson is going to take on this case again and either not end up divorced, you've lost your marbles. Because if I was his wife, just like any of you, there's no way I'm letting him take that case on. And if he insists on it, he will be divorced. So, yeah, that's another thing. News Nation has been putting out a lot of false information. They also said that that picture, the live picture, happened after the verdict. It was actually the day before, the night before the verdict, that we never got because we didn't get a verdict. But it was the day before. It wasn't after. So News Nation also put out some ridiculous numbers of like 6-6 on the jury, which were completely and utterly false. I don't know where they're getting their information from. Sounds like they're getting their information from Sewer Turtle. They should probably stop. It's not helping them. It's making them look like fools. If you want the real information, I suggest you watch Julie Grant or John DePetro. They have the actual real information. I can't wait to go on with Julie Grant. You know, I think it's going to be amazing to be able to say what needs to be said and at the same time let people know that, you know, the Pepto-Bismol C is not okay. And you should probably stop drinking expired Kool-Aid because it'll probably make your stomach hurt. And that everyone who's ever been in a cult didn't know they were in a cult until they got out of said cult. So I know all you cult members want to say you're not in a cult and you haven't been drinking the expired Kool-Aid, but literally you will say something and then contradict yourself 10 seconds later, or you'll say something and then not even understand the context of what you're saying. It's like when they come here to troll and they're like, oh my God, there's only 4 viewers. And I'm like, oh my God, there's 400 because I'm streaming on 3 platforms. Like, learn how streaming works before you try to troll, because then you just made yourself look like an idiot and proved exactly why Free Karen Reed is the way that it is. A bunch of people acting like they have any idea about what they're talking about, just blabbing shit that they have no idea what they're talking about. Thank you for proving my point. Kate proved a beautiful point the other day when she gave the exact same words that the Sewer Turtle did to Peggy O'Keefe when John O'Keefe died. She said the exact same words, just changed the names, Aiden and his mom. People were like, you're disgusting. You're a horrible person. How could you say that about someone who died? And I'm literally reading the comments and I'm laughing. Not because someone died, because that's awful. And it's awful for her that she passed. And my grandfather died of pancreatic cancer. So it's not funny in any way, shape, or form when someone dies. What was funny was the hypocrisy, was the lack of self-awareness, was all these people saying how disgusting it was that Kate said what she said without realizing those were literally the exact same words that the Sewer Turtle said to Peggy O'Keefe about John O'Keefe and his death. Where was that same energy? Anyone? McFly, Bueller. Something that never happened for 700, Alex. Where was that same energy? It was non-existent, you guys. Completely non-existent. So for all those people that went on there and were like, you're awful for saying such a thing, she was proving a point that those words didn't come from her. They came from the Sewer Turtle. And if you just change the names, people are awful for saying it, but call out the person who said it. Where's the same energy for that? Like, it's never okay to make fun of death, bro. That's not, like, what the hell is wrong with you? And if you feel the necessary need to do things like that, then there's something wrong with you on the inside. Not something wrong with everyone else. Something wrong with you. So come on now. You think it was okay when he made fun of, and there's no, secret that me and Risho didn't get along, but before he died, I apologized. And so my conscience is clean. Okay. You shouldn't get on here and be like, I'm glad someone died. Like, what kind of person do you have to be to say that about Brian Riccio? Like, really? But he did. He got on there and he laughed about it and thought it was funny. And then kept hidden that his mother died. Why? Why keep hidden that your mother passed? Oh, I know. That's right. Because all those people that you called pieces of shit and glad that their loved ones died over and over to even strangers on the internet about their loved ones when they said something you didn't like. Oh, you didn't want that same energy back. So you hid it. Also, probably because you were at the courthouse and you looked like a piece of shit for going to the courthouse instead of being with your family after your mother passed away. And you knew it. So make no mistake, it was all about self-preservation, people. It wasn't about anything other than self-preservation when it comes to him. That had nothing to do with keeping his family safe. It was self-preservation.
Oh, are you talking about the whole situation where his relative
mother dying?
Mother died? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, having your mother.
I feel bad for his family, and I feel bad for his mom. I don't feel bad for him. I will never feel bad for him.
In a human level, as someone who's lost, parent. And
she called the O'Keefes useless maggots. Like, what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah, I mean, he's, what the thing is though, like he put that negativity out there and it got returned to him, unfortunately.
Oh, but that's why, let's get real. That's why he hid that his mother died. He didn't hide to save his family, or he hid it because A, he didn't want that same energy back that he gives other people.
Yeah.
And B, he was at the courthouse 2 days later instead of being with his family. And he knew that.
Yeah, which is quite crazy to me that your mother is literally in death's bed, and you would spend hours, at least 5 hours at least with your mother before each day while she's getting older, and she gets really to that point because you could tell when your parents about to die. You really can.
She wrote a letter while he was in jail saying that if they let him out, he would live with her and help take care of her, and he did the complete opposite. He moved out and didn't bother to do anything for her.
No matter what we say, the worst thing is his own conscience, where he's going to have to sit there and think about that. And I think that's...
Yeah, but the problem is he doesn't seem to learn those lessons. With him, it seems to be something that maybe for 5 seconds he reflects on it, but then he goes right back to the same behavior because that's what narcissists do, right? Like, they have no actual real life consequences, and they don't care about anybody but themselves, and that's
but you know what, I try to be a little better than a guy. Like, I feel bad.
I do too, but it's just the reality of him. Like, if it was anyone else, I'd be like, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm a people person, I like people, but with him, it's just the pattern of behavior over and over, the same shit over and over. I mean, you can literally predict it.
Yeah, I just think though his behavior has been disgusting, and honestly, I mean, this is a regret he's going to have to live with the rest of his life, that he chose some BS bullshit YouTube drama, trial thing over his own mother, which is a pretty terrible situation. I would definitely pick my mother over that, just to
absolutely. Listen, not all of us get along with our mothers or even have our mothers alive, and I'd pick my mother over that anytime.
Yeah. Because you just don't know when it happens. But
I'd have to take a whole week off. Like, no, I'm at least taking time off to be with my family and reflect on this. Like, someone just died.
But with him, I mean, he'll never change, and unfortunately, he's going to go to jail for quite a while. He's pissed off enough people that they're going to go throw the book at that guy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
What do you think of Kara Mead's last ditch effort? Like, she hired same attorney. I couldn't believe she hired the same attorney as Epstein's attorney.
So I think Alan Jackson probably gave her that attorney because he can't do the second trial.
Well, he's a witness. He
probably gave the next best thing.
He made himself a witness, basically. So he needs an attorney that represents him for that particular portion of the motion practice. But yeah, does anyone find it weird that all her attorneys are complete scumbags? I mean, there's good attorneys out there. There are not a lot of them. Like Alan Jackson, his main practice is representing PDF files and I'm trying to say PDF files. PDF, so you don't get hit with YouTube too much, and
his wife
the other sexual things, and then his wife, which I found very much an interesting conflict of interest, because apparently the dog bite expert came from the prosecution office, which is the same office his wife basically works in. So I'm trying to think to myself, so not only do you have the feds basically doing
That was the third party. That was the intermediary.
yeah, like you have the feds doing them up there, but also now you
Kim Smith, honey, you wasted your finger push-ups, darling. Nobody cares what you have to say.
I was just in the middle. They wasted the well, I don't really care too much about trolls. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not a big deal. I like to play with talk to people like that. It's hilarious to me. But
it's so funny.
But just like you not only have the federal investigation, but you also now have the California prosecution office that is helping Karen. And it's just like I'm sitting here, I was like, isn't this kind of weird? I mean, like you got this lady being represented by the same attorney for Weinstein and an attorney to represent Epstein. And we forgot about Epstein Island, and then
all the scenes.
Yeah, and then you got the prosecution office where Jackson's wife works, where he allegedly got the dog bite lady, and now you got there's some sort of connections with Karen Reed having a conversation with Josh Levy about trying to postpone the trial. I mean, like this just seems like very weird.
Yeah, the conversation was, well, the media might be calling soon, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell them we worked together. Yeah. That was the conversation that Josh Levy had. FYI, Josh Levy deleted his Twitter today.
Yeah, I mean, which is crazy to me. And it's like...
Which means some questions are rolling in for him. It's the only reason he would delete it.
Well, that's because he probably didn't think this case would gain as much press. And it's gaining a lot of press, and his name is being popped out by a lot of people, and people are looking into it. Also, he's pissed off a lot of people because, even though like Proctor, what he did was a very stupid fucking thing to do to talk about the case. I disagree with the guy. I mean, unless they find other things other than him having a conversation about a case.
I think that's why they suspended him without pay, because I feel like usually with these duty status hearings, if they're going to fire someone, they fire them. Like,
yeah, but I'm trying to say, like, I don't agree with the fact that they, if there's only just a conversation behind the scenes with other people about like shit talking about a person, and they suspend him without pay, and they're trying to fire him for that. That's kind of crazy to me. I feel like that's an overreaction, in my opinion. They need to find more things. It's a
huge overreaction, but the Mass State Police loves to do that. Loves to do that. They have to have a scapegoat, right? Yeah. And right now, that's what he is. He's a fucking scapegoat for them.
Yeah, that's crazy. But the whole dismissal thing is going to be like that stuff's not going to work at all. I mean,
0% chance that's going to happen.
No, it's absolutely. And Yanni's was the worst affidavit I ever read. I was confused reading it. It's like, is he basically stating like a third party talked to one of the jurors, so now he gets the information from the third party, thus hearsay upon hearsay? Like, am I getting that right?
Pretty much.
He does realize hearsay is not allowed in court. Like,
well, hearsay is allowed in certain, so he can file it for the purpose of the motion, and it can be allowed for the purpose of the motion, but it's not going to work, and the judge is going to slap it down. So I don't even know why.
Yeah, because it's like a Supreme Court ruling about this that basically says this is not going to happen. It can't happen like that. What they're trying to say, it just seems like
it's just a way to get more of their false information out there, because there's a hearing at the end of the month, so they need to re-energize said mob. And the way that they do that, and the way they've done it through this entire trial, put out a bunch of false information in some files, be vague about other shit, and let people just speculate until they come up with their own ridiculous conspiracy theory, and we can use it.
I mean, like, there's two things I think about. First option is that this is just a publicity stunt in which they can drum up support and say, look, guys, look how close we were of getting Karen Reed free. And we just need a little bit more super chats, a little bit more money to just toss to the way. And it kind of makes all the content creators that are like, grifters jump on and say, look, we got to need something else to talk about. Because in the end of the day, this is going to be a drought. This is going to kind of be like a Karen Reed drought for a couple of at least a month or two. So they got to give them something. The second one is I found Jackson's whole demeanor when it came to like precisely picking the exact charge of not guilty for each one to be a little bit telling. And like, I'm starting to wonder if there was some sort of and this is speculation, tinfoil hat theory coming onto the play. But I'm starting to wonder if there was some sort of intimate, like some sort of third party like talking to one of the jurors on there. And I'm wondering if
Molly makes a very good point here. They
Yeah.
could have lied to get on the jury. And in that case, dude, there would be an investigation. Those people would get into trouble. Like,
which is like, I sit there and
not
I
gonna help.
wonder, and then like he makes this argument about how there's, and now he's trying to make a motion to dismiss, stating that one of the less like larger charges were not guilty. And it seems like, wait a minute, so the argument that you made in court, you made a big stink about, is now you're trying to use that the jurors were like kind of like, oh, we were just like the second degree we're talking about, we're not going to convict on the second degree, but we might convict on the manslaughter. And they had like a 3-9 for the manslaughter, I believe, which means they didn't buy that bullshit theory by Karen Reed's whole office. No one bought that. Not even, but the 3 people I don't even think bought it. I think they were Karen Reed plants, to be completely honest with you.
Could have been. But if we're to believe 3 people magically, I'm sorry, but that's not a thing. 3 people did not reach out to the defense and go, "Hey, defense, over here. There wasn't a unanimous verdict, because we would have had a verdict on one of the charges. Sorry, not sorry. That's not what happened."
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't get pulled. So
also, it's like the option to pull is optional. The judge can and cannot, could and don't have to do it.
And doesn't have to, right?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
I mean, the information I got is from someone who would have knowledge of that. And that what they told me was that the split was 10-2.
Yeah.
10 guilty, 2 not guilty.
I mean, it's still pretty close, 9-3. Let's just say it's not like a gigantic leap of logic where it's not like it's, but it's like, it's just very interesting to watch the propaganda try to pump out. And you know what it's really about, really? Either, for these channels to get more money, but I'm just wondering if there's some sort of situation, because that seems so weird to me that he was like, I know I'm jumping subject, that he was so into like arguing with the judge over like each column, like the lesser included, to have like some sort of option to it, and then suddenly now that's his main tactic for dismissal.
Now that was not good enough, right? And so, exactly, like, come on, if you think that was magically like by accident, I think that you've lost your fucking brain cells. Like,
yeah, that just seems a little odd. When I think about it, he made a big stink about it, and now he's basically making a motion that's saying the judge did something wrong. And I think, like, I don't understand why Jackson pulls his shenanigans. I feel like it's just a very stupid idea to do that.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, well, hopefully little me and you do better. I'm sorry about your having the internet, by the way.
Val, yeah, she had the hurricane. She's in Texas, so the hurricane came over them, and she said last night if she disappears, it's because she has no internet.
That happened to me a couple of times.
Power.
I have, like, what I bought is I bought something from Get Power, something like that, like a backup.
I have a little backup plug-in one too that I got from Amazon. I mean, it'll only run like phones, computers. It won't run like a TV, or it's just.
I have one. Generator. I have 2. Well, I have a battery, and I have another battery that hooks up to my computer that will run my computer and my Wi-Fi if I have everything on for about an hour and 20 minutes without power. But if I unhook the computer, I could probably run the Wi-Fi for like 17, 18 hours, maybe 24 hours.
That's not bad.
Even more. And I have another backup for plug-in also that can. So I usually
we all need one of those Generacs.
Yeah, I don't really do that because of gas. Basically, I don't want to keep a bunch of gasoline or propane tanks around my house.
Generac is.
Is it Generac? I mean, I was just thinking about gas, propane.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's a solar powered one. I'm not sure, but I don't think you need the gas with it or something.
Oh, okay,
one of those like nicer, whatever ones. But yeah, just don't take the AC. Yeah, that would be bad. It's like 90 degrees here today, and it's like still like in the high 80s right now. It's kind of brutal. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I just changed back. So I don't agree. Like, I just find it very scummy, the defense. Everything they do is scummy. Like, I think everything they do is so scummy, including this motion. And like, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way the jurors met up. Basically, if these jurors did come out, and they probably did kind of push out because they probably were Karen Reed supporters, they probably met another Karen Reed in the middle, and now that middle man is talking to Yannetti. And I just find that so scummy. Like, I don't know why the mainstream media doesn't call this out, like all this stuff.
Because they just won't. Like, I feel like we're one of the very few channels that will call people like Josh Levy out. And because even the DA's office doesn't want to like step on the toes of the federal government, and people are too afraid to call them out because they can make their life a living hell. Well, guess what?
Which is
Can't make people's lives a living hell that don't really have much. So bring it.
Which is quite crazy to me, because a lot of these people who are, Karen Reed supporters are people that would be like, oh, we need to make the government smaller. We need to lessen taxes, a lot of them.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, well, we're going to allow the federal government to supersede state authority over a murder trial because it wins us because we like it. I mean, like, no, what are you talking about? Like, to me, it's like, if you are a true Republican and you're like trying to be like this Republican person, you would look at this whole situation and be like, wait a minute, a prosecution office in California, and also the federal government is telling my district what to do. Like, and now the attorneys representing Karen Reed is the guy that represented Epstein Island and fucking Weinstein, the Hollywood elite. Like, what? How is this like? You're like, how is this like Republican values to represent Karen Reed?
Like, not only that, but it's like, these are the same people who still think the feds are going to drop down from the ceiling and like crash through windows and come arrest witnesses that aren't charged with anything, that the FBI has already talked to their attorneys and they were allowed to say in pretrial, in open court, that they are not under investigation. They are not a target of any investigation. Like, but these people in their brains are still like, yep, the good old government's coming to get them. Like, bro, you'll be waiting until you turn to dust. It's not happening. I don't know how else to make you understand.
I think they're going to abandon, and also I think they're going to abandon the third-party corporate defense. I think that's going to be the next, because they will.
They have to,
because they realize
in Massachusetts you have to have somebody to point to, and if you can't, then you can't use it.
No, but the problem is they realize they're listening to a jury, and basically they didn't buy it. It's a failed tactic, and they almost got convicted and thrown in jail. So probably they're going to go with more like, okay, Proctor fucked up, or some sort of investigation, something. They're probably going to really focus on Proctor, especially a situation like this with him. And they're going to push reasonable doubt. I don't think they're going to push as hard at Cullen anymore. I think it was a horrible mistake by the defense to push at Cullen, because it made no sense. They look like complete fools, especially with Alberts and the McCabe's and all that. It looks so bad. It was better off just saying like it was a rushed investigation. They didn't pick up the proper evidence. But I wonder how the Karen Reed supporters could react when they realize that basically, like, they've been lied to.
Excuses?
Well,
the same way they did when Kerry Roberts was a part of this conspiracy with Jen McCabe for an entire year. And then when they get her in the trial, they don't even cross-examine her because it's nothing to cross-examine, and they take her completely out of conspiracy. So it's like, bro, FYI, truth doesn't change, okay? So the truth doesn't magically change during trial to disclude Kerry Roberts and Colin, and then include now Brian Higgins.
Now it's like they're like trying to state that Higgins was like this intimidating force. Higgins couldn't intimidate a fucking child. When I saw him in that courtroom, I thought he was, to be honest with you, and this is not to disparage the man, he did great service.
A little bit of a sad sack.
But he sounded pathetic. He sounded like a simp, to be completely honest with you. I mean, we all laughed at him. Both sides laughed at his text. I think that was one of the few things the people on the free Karen Reed and this side of the aisle agreed on. Everything that man texted out to Karen Reed was cringe. And the man I didn't feel threatened at all. People were trying to say Albert was threatening. I mean, bro, I saw people before, everyone was trying to say like Albert being in the courtroom was intimidating.
Oh, but Karen smirking at the family and laughing, that's not intimidating at all. That's cool. That's totally fine. That's all right.
But bro, they were making memes making fun of that guy. I remember one of the memes actually was kind of funny, to be completely honest with you. The whole snowman thing. You seen that meme?
I didn't see that, no.
With Albert, and because I was just laughing because sometimes they will catch me up to like laughing. I think I put it a while somewhere. But I was like laughing at it, and it was kind of funny. I gotta find it again.
There was just the lack of self-awareness and the hypocrisy is amazing to me. These are the same people, right, who, if roles were reversed, right, and say the ARCA guys were the Commonwealth's witnesses, right, and the ARCA guys weren't given all the information, And they sat on the stand and said, oh, well, even with all that very important information, nothing would have changed. And it was purposely not given to them. The free Karen Reed side would be screaming from the rooftops that it was corrupt. And they, of course, would need all that information to make a correct opinion. But because it's reversed, it's, oh no, what, didn't you hear them? It's science and physics. And I'm like, bro, what physics? Like,
Well, I
what
mean,
physics? You guys are, they threw a glass at a car at 10 degrees warmer than it was. And then they tried to prove whether a man hit his head on a tailgate, neither of which were things that the Commonwealth was saying happened. So they did 2 tests that had nothing to do with anything.
yeah, like they were like, and number one, I mean, they were yeah, I mean, the problem is with physics and all that stuff is that you need to have all the numbers for the proper calculations. And unfortunately, one of the experts was an expert in that block that could have been an expert for that black box, and that information would have been essential. Now, you cannot make calculations without all the information. They were not provided with all the information. I also believe that they are one of the expert witnesses completely biased. His wife is part of the Free Karen Reed movement. It's shown afterwards.
And that's going to be a very big problem if they want to use him again. It's going to be
but here's the photo. Here's the photo in the back. You can just look at it. But they were making fun of him, and now they're trying to say, Albert's intimidating people in the courtroom.
Yeah, no, like that's so ridiculous. Or that Paul sitting where he was intimidating. He was sitting where he was because of her and her defense team. They got the smaller courtroom because that's what they wanted. So make no mistake, the reason he was sitting there is because of Karen Reed. So then you can't then say, oh, he was sitting so close to her, so it's intimidating. She wanted it that way. Sorry, not sorry. She could have had the bigger
her
idiot
have
been sitting there.
Her idiot lawyer Yannetti, who is the worst lawyer, to be completely honest, I have ever seen in my entire life, to be honest with you. I can't even think. I think the guy who represented himself driving through the parade represented himself better than Yannetti, to be completely honest with you. Decided that the bigger courtroom was going to go against his client's constitutional rights. That like the jury, I think I forgot what exactly.
So stupid. Which is funny because Yannetti has tried trials in that exact same courtroom, and you've never brought up that problem before, Mr. Yannetti.
But the problem is this brilliant fucking lawyer has his client literally being stared at while the grieving family can be seen in jury's eyes. So like you look straight and you can see Karen Reed fucking smiling and smirking, and then you see the crying mother. And I sat there, I was like, brilliant, this guy is a fucking idiot.
The whole point to that was they were trying to get it moved out of the county to a different county, and the judge was like, meh, meh. Okay, you don't want the bigger courtroom because you think the jury box is too far away from the witness box, and it's okay, fine. You can have the smaller courtroom then.
No, I think what their tactic was, and it's always been their tactic, is to delay. And they've been just, it's like the Koberger trial. Like we're waiting for that trial to come 2025.
2025.
And by the way, the same people that say Koberger is saying Karen Reed's innocent, they're saying Koberger's innocent. Like Truth and Transparency believes Koberger's innocent, and there's some sort of cartel connection, drug cartel connection. It's like it's the same wacko.
Are these people embarrassed at all?
No,
by some of the shit they put out there.
Because unfortunately, the audience that watches this stuff wants to be entertained with stupidity. I mean, look at Glaire's audience. Most of them, I don't even know if they can actually fucking spell the Glaire, to be honest with you. But they want to be entertained, and they don't care about the lives they're ruining. Think about this. What infuriates me is this woman has purposely destroyed almost 40 people's lives. 40 people's lives.
Definitely more than that at this point.
Well, I'm just giving you a low ballpark number. Proctor's career over. The McCabe's. You got the Alberts. You got the John O'Keefe's family. You got these kids. You got EMT. Every person this woman has gotten into contact with, his life has been fucked over. What are people gonna wake the fuck up and say, "Wow, maybe the problem isn't everyone. Maybe
not until it's them."
Well, but let me complete my sentence. Maybe the problem is not everyone. Maybe the problem is Karen Reed. Can anyone just agree that everyone, Karen Reed's the worst of them all?
Right. Exactly. like Willow said, while she laughs and gets drunk with her attorney. Like,
Well, she's
where do you think
humping.
that's going to be a good look? Like,
I mean, like, well, they say canoodling. I call it dry humping in the streets of fucking Boston. Like, her attorney is dry humping his clients in the streets of Boston, and while he's smiling, and his wife does not look pleased. His wife looked very
she took
pissed
her
off.
wedding ring off, bro. There's no wedding ring on her hand currently.
Yeah, because she knows that fucker what he was doing. I mean, like, we all know what the fuck that fucker was doing, in our opinions. It looked very much like...
You have no idea, B. Tim. I'm going to have to... You have no idea.
I mean, if you have better photographs, I suggest you contact TMZ and collect your paycheck, because they will pay you like $10,000 for a good photo if there's really like a good one. They will pay you lots of money. I'm telling you. If you have a good photo of Mr. Jackson and doing something with Karen Reed that he should not be doing in the streets of Boston, I suggest you go to TMZ immediately and make bank, because they will pay you $1,000 to $10,000.
I would suggest you do, or maybe a video.
A video would you get so much money. You get so much money. I'm telling you. I mean, like, but the problem is that this guy is. These are sleazy attorneys, and I don't understand how these people can defend these sleazy attorneys. I mean, you're literally now rooting for the attorney that represented Epstein. Do you realize, like, does the Free Karen Reed movement realize this now, that you are literally cheering on the guy who represented Epstein, the sex trafficker?
Yeah,
and possible
with the island,
with the island, the sex trafficking island, and the underage children. I mean, and why? I mean, why is Karen Reed's all her attorneys have to do with like fucking sex crimes, like defending sex crimes? This is a DUI case. Can't you get a lawyer that represents you for a DUI case? Like, what the fuck?
That's what Yannetti was supposed to be, you know.
Like, get an attorney that's good for murder trials or something. Why does all her attorneys have to do with sex offenders?
It's really sad, like really sad, you know. Well, it's not all main media. I mean, Julie Grant does a good job of sort of dispelling a lot of the crap and rumors, and she's, you know, gets harassed and takes the hit just like the rest of us do. I mean, I know I'm not mainstream media, but she's core TV, so it's sort of mainstream media. But no, you're right. None of the other ones. But you want to know why? Because their producers say, we want this and you need to give us this. We don't want this, this, or this. We just want this.
Well, the fact is, the truth of the matter is that controversial, like, basically, you know, it's, how do I explain it? If they just simply went with, this is a straight DUI case and the lawyer's just doing everything to be skeevy about it to get off, that wouldn't let you get lots of views. So you got to entertain the conspiracy angle, and you got to entertain, you know, the logical angle here. And you do it like you treat them both as like equal thoughts, like these two people are equal. But the truth of the matter is, the Karen Reed people, the only difference is that these people just have way more times, because I guess they're all collecting Social Security and they're sitting at home and they have all the time in the world. I don't know. I don't know how they had like almost fucking 40 days to sit outside and fucking dance.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like, bro, don't you guys have like kids? Oh, wait, you brought them with you to hold signs disparaging other grown adults that were counter protesting. You're so proud of that, though, right? Like, pat yourself on the back. That's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. If you actually were for Karen Reed and protesting, you wouldn't be having your child hold disparaging signs about the people counter protesting. That's gross and a fail in parenting.
I mean, would you let your daughter hold a sign, say, marry me, like 40-year-old man?
No.
The answer is no. That would be like, I mean, I don't know why. Like, I'm not, number one. I mean, like, another thing that's funny is Mr. Turtle Boy. We're going to be petty now. This is petty time now. Turtle Boy is trying to insult Paul O'Keefe's looks. And bro, you look like the fucking leprechaun, like from like the leprechaun video, like literally, like I mean, your face looked like the leprechaun. It's like not the good leprechaun, like from Magically Delicious. I'm talking about the leprechaun in the horror
Magically Delicious.
No, yeah, like you literally look like the leprechaun from the horror movies. You're as short as one as well. I don't know. Maybe this is like the sequel to those fucking movies, but I don't know. You have no room to call people out on looks. Like, you are horrible. And your new girlfriend, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, why would you dump your wife for that? Holy fuck. Like, what were you thinking, bro? What were you thinking? I know you weren't thinking with your head, that's for sure. You were thinking with the other parts of your body. I'm sure not all the Karen fans aren't all unhinged. I'm sure there's some. I think like there's some people that hear snippets. Like realistically, Brunhell, most people don't have all day to listen to a case. You think most people were sitting around listening to a fucking trial 7 hours a day or 4 or 5 hours a day, like I was, just listening to all the details? No, they have other things to do. They have other things to watch. So they listen to the news. They hear like, "Oh my God, this," and "Oh my God, that," and 227, and they don't actually know that they're being lied to and fucked with, and that's how it goes.
Right.
But and
Right.
but if I was like the Jen McCabe and all those people, right now, just to fuck over Karen Reed, I would start a lawsuit immediately. I would start a lawsuit immediately right now, just to fuck with her. I'd be like, "Oh, no."
Well, there will be lawsuits, but now they're going
Do
to have
it
to wait
now.
until after a second trial.
You don't have to wait. You could start one now. Why not? I don't know. I would probably do it just to fuck with her. I don't know. I would be like, just to fuck with her.
I mean, listen, hey, it's not a bad idea because, you know, the way they were treated and the way they continue to be treated, I'd nail every single person. I mean, my attorneys offered to take it on contingency because clearly I do not have the money to keep paying for an attorney to go after all the people who have defamed and slandered me.
Well,
but at this point, my attorney's like, get all the screen names. We're sending subpoenas out. And lawfully, once the judge grants those subpoenas, Twitter, Facebook, they then have to give the information whose accounts they are, IP addresses, all that shit. So like, oh, well, like maybe you should stop repeating things over and over. And once I tell you it's a lie and it never happened, and then you still repeat it over and over and over, you are now defaming, and I can prove that you are defaming and slandering once you were told, and then you can.
I mean, do these people have money?
Doesn't matter. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. They are not going to realize not to do this to someone else until the legal consequence hits them straight in the face. So whether they have money or not, I really don't give a fuck.
I would suggest, I would suggest as a thought process that you don't sue broke people and you sue
Oh, I'm suing a couple broke people. Yeah, no, I'm doing it because the other people outweigh it with the money that they have. So
I don't know. So how are you going to collect? Well, I won't get into that. But I would suggest don't sue the broke people. Go for the head of the snake and the people with money.
Yeah, but then that gives the broke people like emboldened to keep doing it to other people.
I mean, the broke people, that's the only thing they have is basically that's basically because they don't have a pot to piss in. So, oh, well, that's pretty much all they have to talk shit. But realistically, if you're going to sue people and you want money and you want to compensate your lawyer and you want to pay for your case and everything, and you want to make it really hurt, you go after the head of the snake. You don't go after the fucking ants and peons and sheeps. that have no shit. That's just going to waste all your time and money. Just my opinion.
Right.
Just my opinion.
I get it. No, I get it. But I think this is such an extreme case of like ridiculousness that some of these people, look at the wheelchair lady who literally had to fabricate an assault that never happened without even thinking in her head once, oh shit, multiple of them are filming. There's cops inches from us watching the entire thing. She still went on Twitter and said that I assaulted her daughter. First, it was that I slapped her, and she took like a still shot of me giving her daughter's phone the finger after they threw water on me, by the way. And by the way, there was a cop about 3 inches.
And technically, that's assault.
And that is assault, correct? Yeah. And that is assault. I said it at the time. I said, you guys realize that's assault.
I would have charged them. I would have called the police and charged them.
The cop asked me. I said, no.
I would have charged. I don't know why you didn't do that.
He's like, I thought that's why I need to talk to you. And he was literally right here. So now
I would have wheeled that. I would have wheeled that wheelchair leader off to jail. I'd be like, listen.
Oh, this was my way, right? So I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do that right now. It's water, whatever. You cool me down. It's 90 degrees. Thanks. Appreciate you. But after she then went on Twitter and lied, right? First, it was I slapped her daughter. Mind you, we have it from 3 angles, and you can see me walking by and giving her daughter's camera the finger after they throw water on me. 3 times from 3 different cameras that we had rolling. Okay. So you would think in your brain, like if I lie about this, possibly there was a lot of people there. They could have this on camera. And maybe I shouldn't lie. Like, nope. First it was I slapped her. Then it was I elbowed her. And then she was on Twitter going, wait for a subpoena in the mail. A summons in the mail. And I go, please do. Because once you file that false report, that is a felony, my darling. And we have it on numerous cameras. So I wish and pray and hope that you
Yeah.
try that, because I
I
have
mean,
no
like,
problem making sure your ass gets arrested,
I
wheelchair
mean,
and all.
realistically, a lot of people that talk about subpoenas and lawsuits, they don't understand how slow and a
No, they
tremendous
don't.
amount of cost it does, and it's just ridiculous. It's like idiots talking about it. As someone who has a friend going through a bunch of BS right now, I can tell you it's expensive and it's a lot of BS that you have to
I
go
know.
through. But Mystic asked you a question. She said, "Question: has Reed been charged for
Not
colluding
yet.
with TV for obstruction?" I think they're waiting
Not
until after the trial, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, they are. In my
And
opinion, that's exactly what they're doing, is waiting until after the trial
I
to
mean,
hit them both with the new charges.
which is crazy to me. It's like, imagine Karen Reed could have just did a year in jail. I'm sure though Keith would have not, I'm sure no one would have sued her for wrongful death or anything. She would have went to jail. She for like they would have sentenced her 1 month, like 1 year, 6 months in jail. She probably would have been out in less than a year, to be honest with
Right.
you. She would have not spent all this stupid money. She would have had people that were nice to her and probably had some sympathy. They were probably like, "Oh, she was just drunk and she had a tragic accident." And
A
poor,
lot of people have told me that. They said it would have, for them, it would have just been a tragic accident had she just come up and been like, I never even knew that I hit him. I had no idea. And she would have just, either got off or done the like short time and called it a day. It was what she did after that.
yeah. Then like she cried, did some crocodile tears. Say, "I'm sorry" in the court, and the parents would have probably, everyone would have fucking moved. She probably would all just have to move, and that's it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
because but that's all. But the bitch decides to like do the worst things I've ever seen a person do under the advice of an idiot attorney who, any realistic attorney would have, like, if I was like Yannetti, I would have tried to go for the lesser charge. I would have been like, my client was drunk. She had no intentions of killing her boyfriend. She backed up. The state is overcharging my client. My client, it was a tragic accident. She did not desire to kill him. It was just, and they probably, you know what? They might have acquitted her. They might have acquitted her. If they charged her with manslaughter too, they probably would have had sympathy for her. But the lady is so unsympathetic because of all the fucking shit she does in the courtroom, and she's a whack job.
Well, the statement that it was a statement, it was a text, but the text that she texted her attorney was, I clipped him, but I didn't think I hit him that hard.
Yeah, which would have been a great defense in the courtroom if she would have just admitted she hit the guy with the car. But that would probably, honestly, they probably would have offered her a plea of like that, and she would have just accepted that damn plea, and she would have walked the fuck away, and she would have been done. Now she's got to ask for more money. She spent probably over $1 million at this point, and now she's going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars more. And Jackson is fucking running up her bill with this ridiculous fucking motion that's going to be thrown out. There's no way in God's green earth the judge is going to entertain this motion. No. And he's just, and if you think about that motion alone and all those people,
waste of money,
probably cost her around $3,000 to $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
You paid $4,000, and then the attorney's going to go into court and argue that. That's going to be, each of those attorneys getting paid $500 an hour. And
Willow, remember, it's not just Daddy's money, right? It's all the free Karen Reed people that have donated to our fundraiser, that have Venmo and Cash App, and like any person can like Apple phone, Android, doesn't matter. You can download Venmo or Cash App on your phone right this very second. It takes like 10 seconds. Okay, literally link your bank account to it and send anyone in the United States money. Same with Venmo. Literally might take 3 minutes tops to set up the entire thing. So some of these people have literally set it up just to send a murderer money, like, or a sewer turtle, for getting charges that he did on camera. It boggles the mind, okay? Like, boggles the mind. Like, that this is what so it's not just Daddy's money, it's everyone else's money too. Like, and then she's going to do the same thing, right? Which is tell everyone she needs their help again, right? She needs another rigorous defense. So she needs y'all to make another $500,000 for her. Support the $500,000 for her and $250,000 for the sewer turtle. Like, and they just throw money at it. It is kind of depressing. It's literally like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't. I literally can't.
You thought we were for free Karen Reed? David, I think.
Well, remember, Tim, I started this thinking she was innocent.
Oh, okay. I was about to say you missed a little bit, sir.
Well, yeah, I definitely missed a little bit because that was long before most of the evidence came out, November, December-ish, that I got
I
around like the
know what,
middle of
I've never
November.
been free, Karen Reed. I've been I originally found out about this case I think about 8 months ago, actually 8 to 9 months ago. And it was due to the fact that it was actually due to Tro Mafia's video where she talked about the harassment. And I was more interested in the angle of their harassment, to be honest with you, because I didn't know too much about the case. And at first, when you look at the documents originally, and you just like the documents that were first released by Turtle Boy, you're like, "Whoa, this is very suspicious. Whoa, that's weird." And then you start looking in and start reading, and you say, "Oh, okay." And then you hear about him being working with the defense and all, and it's like, "Oh, okay." And then you realize the wall file when it came to the 227, you're like, "Oh, okay." Then you realize, okay, so basically it's all bullshit. And this lady's clearly guilty, and she's manipulating the media and YouTubers to basically be a propaganda piece for her to try to raise money for her defense, in which in a way is kind of weird to me, because in a way, the money that she raised because and the publicity she got helped her tremendously in defending herself, but also it's like a double-edged sword because it kind of fucked her because it forced her to use this cockamamie theory that makes absolutely no fucking sense. If she would have just
No,
went with the angle of, well, they didn't have enough evidence on me due to like a hasty, debacled investigation, I think they probably would have been better off with that. To be honest, I honestly 100% believe they would have been better off with that defense.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, there's so many things I could have done here. Ruining 80 plus lives, not something I thought would happen. This is a very serious case of innocence fraud. And for the people that are innocent and get caught up in this shitty ass system, it doesn't help them, because once, the trials happen with Sewer Turtle, a lot of other stuff is going to come out about things that he knew ahead of time and lied about, and things that that he continuously spewed that he knew were lies just to cover his own ass. And I wonder to myself how these diehard supporters will spin it instead of saying, holy shit, I was
Well,
lied to.
I
I
mean,
was
like,
duped.
I know the social media people will never do that because I've seen a lot of frauds. I mean, for instance, the recent fraud we uncovered was about T-Rev. You heard that story? It's unrelated, but it's due to the Sebastian case a little bit. Did you hear about that one?
No.
Well, basically, during the Soto case, like that little girl that was
Yeah, I know that
assaulted,
case.
right? He had his friend named Smoke pretend to call in as the as a friend from high school and make false reports stating that he saw him stalking 9-year-olds and all this stuff. And he did this twice. And his friend made 2 fake callings about it and that he knew about, and he set up and wrote the script for him.
It sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
And he did that, and he got so much kickback. He got so much, but he still hasn't apologized for it. He was caught red-handed. We had the text of him talking to the guy. We had the voices. We matched up the voices because he tried to do a southern accent, and he still denies it. And that's what I say. Like, most of these content creators um will fucking basically continue to support it because they will never acknowledge that they're wrong, because acknowledging that they were wrong acknowledges that they supported a murderer harassing innocent people. And
Well,
also,
and also saying that they were wrong. And it's very hard, apparently, for people to say that they're wrong. I don't know why it's so hard for people to just say, you know what, I was wrong. It's really not that difficult.
I
It's
believe
really not.
I believe Sean Puffy Combs might be a troll. It's an interesting.
Probably, but sometimes some people I know come in and sort of make funnies like that. So I'm just sort of keeping an eye on it.
I like, that's a little odd.
It
Like,
is. It
those
is.
people are clearly guilty. Every single one of those people are clearly guilty,
Yeah.
evil people. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
I
um,
mean, I don't think what they're trying is going to work here. And I think if you're believing a bunch of this shit, like, then I think you need your head checked.
Well, I think these people are, I think the content creators are going where the money's at. And I think there's people that generally believe this angle because, I mean, these people are very lonely people that have no friends and they joined a community. And when you join a cult, you don't want to be the person to leave the cult because then you're by yourself. I mean, these people literally create an entire community to basically hate bond about this whole group of like Jen McCabe and Alberts and O'Keefe's and all this stuff. And that's what's happening. And, and also this.
You don't even know them. And that's the funny part. It's like, you don't know any of those people. You don't know Lindsay. You don't know me. And so it's like all these people, they sat there and defamed and slandered and attacked and trolled. Like, it's funny because the things that they say about us, it's like the complete opposite of like who we are as people. And anybody who knows us knows that. So it's like, if you don't know someone, yet you're parroting out your mouth, just repeating shit someone else told you, right? Maybe you should stop and think, what if someone was doing that to you and it was untrue? But they don't. They just keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And it's like, do you ever sit back and think to yourself, like, this is what I'm teaching my children to do? Like, none of you ever go like, hey, I'm a grown adult and it's probably not grown adult behavior. Like, no, we don't do that. No. Like, it's amazing to me how many of these people just want to belong to something so badly that they will essentially join a cult and not even realize they're in a cult until they're not in said cult anymore. Like,
yeah, but unfortunately, I just hope that people actually eventually wake up and realize that this woman is not a victim, is not like an outsider. This woman is a woman that grew up in privilege and money, and now she's using her privilege and money to try to get herself out of being convicted of murder. And she's also used her privilege and money to trick a lot of people and pay a lot of people to trick other people. And it's very and it's very sad. I mean, that we are, there's a lot of very innocent people out there who don't even have 10% of the support or even 1%. And it's just crazy to me. And this
what's sad to me is like what, like you just pointed out a minute ago, like the content creators go where like the money is, right? Like,
yeah, because they're grifters.
But why can't the money though? Why can't the money be where the truth is? Why? Like, as you see, we've been here 59 minutes, an hour. I haven't got a single donation. I'm not complaining about it because no matter what, I'm going to tell the truth, whether I make a buck or not. It's going to be real hard to keep the channel open if I can't at least cover the cost. But no matter what, like, the truth is the truth and it doesn't change. It saddens me. Like,
did you try the app, Buy Me a Coffee app?
I have one, but I can't. For some reason, it's not like linking when I try to link it to my Twitter.
Oh, PayPal? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Willow, the only thing I have is Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. I mean, but Cash App and Venmo take like 10 seconds to download. You can download it at any kind of phone. If you're in the country, if you're in the United States. If not, PayPal is something that people from out of country have to use. I unfortunately don't have Apple Pay because I don't have any Apple products, so I wouldn't have any way to get it.
That'd be kind of funny if you have like an Apple, like, guys, I need money. You have like a bunch of Apple products in your house.
Right. Like I don't have any Apple products. All my products are Androids or I don't know. I was never been a huge fan of the Apple.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
I don't have a channel. I just jump on panels.
He jumps on panels.
Yeah, I usually jump on Queen Bee. Yeah, I usually jump on Queen Bee's channel usually, but I deal with a lot of the area of specialty I deal with is grifters and tragedy pimps, people that profit from the tragedies of victims in true crime and basically exposing them and clowning them and basically also talking about true crime cases as well. Basically the Glare is definitely a tragedy pimp. Definitely a lot of these people are tragedy pimps, in my opinion, on that side, because they are profiting from the harassment of innocent people and trying to get a killer off by any means necessary. Not even fair means. Like, if this was a trial, you know what I mean? Yeah. If this was like a fair trial where like there was no attempt to go after the jury and there was no attempt to go after witnesses, I would have nothing to say. I'd be like, okay, well, you're welcome to any defense you like. But like the problem is that this is not a fair situation. This is clear jury and witness intimidation. And I think,
Sure is.
I mean, I love when people jump in the chat. I like try to read it quickly before you delete it. But it's a lot of people that say, well, we're delusional. I mean, like, honestly, who's delusional? You guys believed, not even the jury believed your cockamamie theory. You guys actually believe the time traveling proctor that teleported from the Sallyport to the Fairview in less than 4 minutes. You guys actually believed those things were like those marks were dog bites. You guys with no dog DNA or bottom teeth. Even though they got a idiot senile woman who was working.
There's clothes in between. Yeah, thanks, genius. The DNA would be there.
Yeah, like who sounded like a complete moron. The ME that sounded like he should have been on a respirator, who barely could who even admitted that I saw the bite patterns from Chloe and they didn't match. I mean, like they clearly didn't match. And like the whole Nevercracker theory, guys, you guys believe the Nevercracker theory from a movie called Monster House from 2011, where like a house was alive killing people or taking people into the basement. I don't know. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is your defense. This is who you believed. And you call us delusional? I'm sorry. But I mean, which is more delusional? Your wackadoo theory or like the lady just accidentally hit him with the car while drunk.
The facts don't support the theory. Okay. It could have, like in the beginning, you could argue, right, that it was a little shady, right? Without any other information, without, any reasons for why they did certain things and being told straight out lies, like there was taillight found on top of the snow, which we now know was a bold-faced lie, that, the house was sold, they lost on the house. They didn't lose on the house. So like literal lies that were just being spewed, right? Like once you start realizing that, like, wait a second, not only was this a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie, but when you get a crap load of evidence just dropped on your lap and you start going through it and you're like, oh shit, like she can't possibly be innocent because this, and this. And okay, now I understand the reasons for this, and this, and that makes more sense than what we've been told for a year. So like, it's easy to believe in the beginning that she could be innocent, which is where I started. But you just can't get over the giant pile of fucking evidence that shows that the conspiracy is not plausible in any sort of manner. Okay. Never mind the fact that they've changed it like 16 times at this point. It's literally been changed. The truth doesn't change. Okay. Truth doesn't change.
Yeah.
But you have them changing the conspiracy like 17 times in adding people, taking people out, all sorts of shit.
And which is wild because even like the supposed FBI investigation, these two experts, they weren't testing if the car hit someone. They were testing if they launched fucking cocktail glasses with a cannon at 30 miles an hour at the fucking taillight.
Right.
I mean, like, this
that had nothing to do with anything.
So now what do we got? The theory of so John threw a glass at the taillight. We have John was dropped off at the at the bar and she went home. We got the theory that John went to the house and got beat up by a bunch of people. We have the theory that she dropped him off by the driveway. We have the theory that she was dropped him off by the fire hydrant and then she saw him walk in. I mean, like, these stories keep on changing and no one sits here and says, why does Kara Reed's story always change in her in her alibi? Seems like people are just kind of, I don't know.
Right.
Just
Let me make something abundantly clear here. Facts. I was never a turtle rider. I never proclaimed to be a turtle rider in any way, shape, or form. I started with this case, and he was the person covering said case. What we found out later on was he didn't investigate anything. All the information was fed to him by the defendant. So that's not investigative journalism. Sorry, not sorry. Secondly, I've told the story like 7,000 times on my channel about why I don't support him. And, it's because I answered a question to his at the time girlfriend when he sort of threw his other at the time girlfriend out like trash. And she called me before a party and one asked a question. I answered it and I didn't realize it was going to get him caught with lying about, 3 different women and then didn't know it was 4 at the time either until after. It got him caught. He got in trouble. And instead of just saying, hey, I got caught, I lied to a bunch of women, it's probably my fault, he went full crazy person and started making shit up. And when I realized he could sit there and lie to thousands of people so boldly about me, I had to start wondering what else he was lying about.
The make it simple for you fact is that Turtle Boy is a fraud. He pretends to be an investigative journalist when he's in fact a propaganda piece for the defense. He has done no investigation. He has just been the propaganda piece, been given all this information from the defense, and made a complete fool of himself because all the information they handed to him was not even correct. They used him, and now he's going to jail because he's been used. And he will go to jail, and he will be sued, and his life is over. His life is going to be over soon. And he just like, and instead of spending that freedom that he had with the last moments with his mother, he decided to hang out with Karen Reed. Which, to be completely honest with you, if he told me to hang out with a random person on trial,
she didn't even hang out with him, so there's that.
Yeah, I would have never hung out. I would have my last moment. I would have hung out with my mother at that particular moment, which I did. But anyway,
common sense, right?
Well, I haven't been here sometimes. Well, I'm just explaining to you. I have to just.
But I'm just saying, I've told the story 7,000 times. You know what I mean? I've told this story a lot of times. But when someone can so boldly lie to so many people, and then you have to stop and think like, wait a second, if they can lie about me trying to cover their own dirt instead of just apologizing for what they got caught doing, and still to this day lying about it, then what else are they lying about? And then you have to dig deeper. And then you start finding out shit you probably didn't want to know about the guy.
You know, you say I have to disagree. Well, you are welcome to disagree. Everyone's welcome to their opinions. I just find that Turtle Boy is a fake, a person that puts himself out there as an investigative journalist when he's in fact no different than any propaganda piece paid for by the defense. And, you know,
he admitted he was a mouthpiece for the defense. So anybody who wants to disagree with that, you're disagreeing with his own words. He actually admitted he was a mouthpiece for the defense. And now Nick Rocco is. So,
I mean, and that's the truth. And
those were the words out of his mouth. So.
And these people are not in pursuit of truth. These people are not reading the documents or actually doing anything like that and trying to just change their thoughts on their, or they already have an opinion. They already have a thought of the case. And no matter
you can't separate though. You can't. That's the thing. You can't separate Turtle Boy and Karen. You can separate the cases. There's two different cases, but you can't separate the two because if he's been lying to you for over a year about certain things about her case, how do you
listen, I would have agreed with you. I mean, I would have agreed with you fact about 7 months ago that they were two separate cases. But at this point, they're linked. And I remember I talked to the Glare at one point, and he says, we have to debate when I debated Glare. You know, he wanted to talk about Turtle Boy. And I says, Karen Reed's case is a separate case. We shouldn't be debating Turtle Boy's arrest with Karen Reed. And now I'm thinking I was wrong. They're both linked because the truth of the matter is that she used Turtle Boy to effectively try to get a hung jury, to effectively try to get intimidated with all the jury members. And you could see, and also, I would hope that you would go back in the court and watch her reaction through certain witnesses and see how she smiles. Now, with a lot of sociopaths, or people who are fucked up in the head, they often smile when they can re-victimize the victims. And
I've seen it because when I worked at the prison for the criminally insane, you would see that over and over and over when they're getting some sort of like charge out of it, like some sort of actual feeling out of re-victimizing people. It's gross.
Feelings. We watched the trial. We watched the pre-trial and we read the documents. I mean, we waited for the defense. We patiently waited for the defense 29 days. I thought the defense was going to like bring some sort of. I honestly was shocked about the lack of defense, to be completely honest with you. I was expecting like 20 witnesses for the defense. I was expecting a Google search expert. I was expecting a big amount of money because this was a multi-million-dollar defense, and I was expecting real defense. What they offered shocked me because realistically, they offered a last-minute lady that was going to talk about the dog bites, meaning that they claimed that these marks were dog bites, and they waited 2 years to get a dog bite expert, and that lady apparently didn't come to, like, they didn't go to her. She came to them reading an article from the Boston Times or whatever, which I don't believe. I think she was reading from Turtle Boy's blogs, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
Who she was in the office at the prosecution office in California, where his wife works. By the way, Mr. Jackson's wife works.
That was the intermediary. I guarantee it.
And the second thing, and that lady got completely destroyed, where she basically didn't even compare the previous bite marks, the bite mark patterns, to the actual marks on John O'Keefe's arm. And she also didn't even know about the dog DNA. Then you got the second guy, who was the ME, who had, by the way, had a great background. I'm not going to take away from the man's credentials. I think he was well qualified. But I think the problem is number one, he's retired, so you can hire anyone for money, and they can say things if you as long as it's not perjury. But number two, they didn't give him all the information. They gave him partial information because they knew if they gave him all the information, his opinion would change drastically. Okay, so that guy they purposely didn't give that guy all the information, and they made that guy look like a fool. And honestly, if I was that expert, I'd be pissed off because that guy was a very well qualified individual and had a great background in medical history. And unfortunately, they made a man like that look like a fool because they didn't give him all the information at all. And then the two FBI hired experts, the contractors from ARCA, both did not have the complete information. As a matter of fact, Crash Daddy was too busy building a cannon to shoot cocktail glasses at a taillight to actually say to himself, yeah, I should get the black box that tells me the speed that they're alleging the car went backwards. I should probably know the temperature it was outside. I should know about how hard, I should know that the ground freezes in the winter. I should know about how, these are things he probably should have known. And I should have probably looked at the injuries and at the scene and knew about these things. So
the DNA, also the DNA he was not told about when he asked, and then they said no, even though there was DNA there. Yeah, that.
Yeah, this was a shocking for me to see the defense produce such little defense. I was expecting 20 witnesses for the defense. I was expecting
a lot more.
Yeah, I was shocked that they were done in less than a day and a half. And that kind of informed me that the main reason why they did that was because their only goal was to try to get a hung jury. Because they knew, or at the very least, they were hoping that one juror would just not be convinced. I don't think their defense was great. I think their defense was terrible.
Not for the amount of money that Karen Reed paid. I would want my money back. I'm just saying. And, the FBI experts, let's remember, everyone was told they were Quantico, they were FBI experts. In reality, they were not. They were not trained by the FBI in any way, shape, or form. That was another lie. You were spewed by the defense. Also, do you remember that the ME, the dog lady, they called her a pathologist, and then we found out she wasn't a pathologist. So it's just the constant lies that people like to just kind of ignore. That, you know what I'm saying? They just act like it never happened, that they were never lied to about it. You can read the documents, but the problem is if you're reading the documents and you're reading all the shit that the defense says, it's a bunch of bullshit. Right. And there are actual real life pieces of evidence that debunk their bullshit. Not only that, but all the shit that they had pre-trial, they changed half of it when they got to actual trial.
Well, facts. The problem is that the back and forth is not on this side. The back and forth is on the other side. That basically, there's some elements on this side that kind of go for people's personal, information and stuff. I'd be denying if that doesn't happen. But the fact is that this all started because Free Karen Reed people decided to take the law into their own hands and become a mob. And in this country, we don't do that. Imagine if people did that to Karen Reed. Well, imagine if we all came together and we decided to harass Karen Reed at her job and in front of her house and fuck with her witnesses and fuck with her family. The people need to there would be an outcry. But yet it's allowed on the other side.
Correct.
And I don't believe that anyone should be harassed. I don't believe Karen Reed should be harassed. I don't believe her witnesses should be harassed.
Anyone should.
And I don't believe, witnesses the other side. You are innocent until proven guilty. Now I can have an opinion that she's guilty as fuck.
Yep.
Absolutely. And, I'd be lying to you if I
was the jury.
I'm not the jury and I am not, the court. But I can hold my opinion just like you can hold your opinion that she's innocent. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I have a $10 donation from Brune. Thank you, Brune. I appreciate you. Channel don't run without people like you. So thank you. Thank you very much. It says for your work, and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
How did they get by with using that partial information as a, so I'm surprised that the judge allowed, because she had very big concerns about two of the witnesses for the defense, and I don't think she should have let either one through. But my opinion on that was let them through, because they're gonna make themselves look like idiots anyway, and that's exactly what happened. But if I was a judge, no, I wouldn't have, because you didn't have all the information. And not only that, the defense lied about giving the dog lady the bite marks from Chloe, which did not match, and the DNA. And I called it. I said that day, I said, how much you want to bet? They never gave her that. And then later on, when they get called on it, they blame it on technical issues. And what happened the very next day? My live is still up, so you can still see it, time and date stamped. The exact thing happened the next day.
I think the main reason why the judge let that through is because she didn't want an appealable issue.
Appealable offenses. I get it. But at the same time, you also have to be fair to the prosecution.
I get it. But at the end of the day, she had, I mean, like, and I think I disagree with the lawyer, a lot. But even he said that it was probably wrong to let that dog bite lady in, to be honest with you.
She had no expertise in dog bites specifically. I'm sorry. Like,
I kind of disagree. I mean, like, she had some expertise. I think the problem I had with her is, like, she kind of seemed to just jump out of nowhere. And in my opinion, she seemed more interested in being famous,
being a part of it. Yep.
Being a part of it than actually being a paid expert that's supposed to give their actual expert opinion. And
not only that, but do you remember before that, they couldn't find anybody to say it was a dog bite, because there was DNA. There was John's DNA, but no dog DNA through this hole on his clothes where the dog would have had to bite through.
I mean, like,
so,
for instance,
the bite patterns from Chloe that they had from the previous don't match. So no expert is going to say they do when they don't.
Well, I mean, why did they not get a signed affidavit? I don't know, man. And I honestly don't even think it would matter if they got a signed affidavit. What are they going to say? We all had a verbal agreement on what we were going to do, unless it's a piece of paper that they put together and sent it to the judge. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. There's a Supreme Court ruling on that. And I honestly think this is either a publicity stunt to get
a publicity stunt.
To get super chats, like get the money going. Because at the end of the day, Karen Reed needs a lot of money. I mean, you have to realize this type of defense is not cheap. You're talking about, AJ, Alan Jackson, now the guy who represented Weinstein. I got to look up his name again. These are expensive attorneys. These are not $500 an hour attorneys. These are $1,000 an hour attorneys. So you got to imagine this is a lot of money that's being thrown this way, and you got to keep on donating. And at the end of the day, there's the well dries. I mean, Turtle Boy's donations are they stopped, and I don't
think they'll ever stop. And his mother just died, so he's going to garner all that sympathy.
Well, I mean, I just don't really. I mean, to respect her, I'm not going to mention anything about her. I'm sure she was a lovely lady, and unfortunately, it's I know how it feels.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. My grandfather died of pancreatic cancer. It's awful. It's awful. Nobody should have to go through that. No one. It's terrible.
Even though I think Turtle was a piece of shit, I do give condolences, at least for his family, and I don't really want to go into his parents. You know what I mean? His mom is probably a very lovely lady, and it's a pretty tough thing to go through.
Sucks, yeah.
But maybe Turtle Boy will gain some humanity and realize how terrible it is when people do that to him, and maybe realize, hey, maybe it wasn't so great for me to go after people like this who had relatives that died, and maybe I gained some humanity. Like, he'd be like the Grinch, his heart grows 3 sizes bigger.
I highly doubt that. You'd think he would have learned something from jail, and he didn't learn a single thing.
Yeah, well, he did get $5 haircuts.
Woohoo!
Okay, so they had to get permission from the court to reach out directly to the jurors, so that's why no one signed affidavits. So they use a third party to basically get hearsay testimony on Zoom.
Come on, dude.
Who's this? I'm sorry. I wonder if it's going to be that Rivers reporter person that did it. She was doxing the jury a little bit. Remember?
Oh, Jess.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And she was doing it for him. Let's not don't get past the point of she was doing it for him. Like,
I know he's beyond redemption, but I still feel bad for her. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't feel bad for him. I feel bad for his family, but I don't feel bad for him.
to respect his mom, I'm gonna, not go too
Yes,
long.
Emily, I agree with you. Beyond hope at this point,
Yeah, man.
I mean, I think it is a Hail Mary by the defense, a huge Hail Mary. And remember, they did try to get the interviews, but there was something about the interviews that she gave that they couldn't get the like non-clipped versions or like the
They couldn't get
unedited versions.
Yeah, they couldn't get the unedited because there was certain things agreed to be off the record, basically, from the
Yeah.
defense, and they couldn't get those because there were they made an agreement that was supposed to be off the record. It kind of would fuck up a lot of interviews, so they couldn't use it. The only thing they could have used was the Boston newspaper interview or something like that. But I don't know why they didn't use that. But my guess, I mean, like, to be completely honest with you, I probably would have gotten rid of the Aruba trip people and put that person on the stand, and maybe like Karen Reed's father, because I feel like
I mean, this time I hope they go for Mr. Reed and Nathan Reed.
I feel like the Aruba trip, the two witnesses for the Aruba trip, was a complete waste of time, to be honest with you.
I think it's because she brought up the Aruba trip so many times, and she was basing a lot of like her anger off of that Aruba trip. That's why they brought them in, sort of character witnesses to show like how quickly she flies off the handle.
Yeah, but still, man, I feel like that, because you have to realize, like, if you want to paint a picture of an angry person, I mean, does that really paint like a murderous woman?
I think the voicemails did just that.
That's all you really needed to do was the voicemail, and that's all you really needed, because that was great, the voicemails. But like the Aruba trip, I felt like a waste of time. Yeah, I just didn't think it was a good idea to do the Aruba trip stuff. To be honest with you, I think
the jury doesn't have to be polled in Massachusetts if they did not come to a consensus on any of the charges. That's the thing. So here in Mass, you don't have to poll the jury. Also, I don't know why the judge did, or maybe she did. I don't know. But as far as I know, they were not polled. And unfortunately, under Massachusetts law, they don't have to be. I wish they would have, but
yeah, it's optional. The judge can decide to do it or not decide. It doesn't have to be done. And it's interesting that the defense didn't even think to even question and say anything at the time. They were more quick to for a mistrial. I think they wanted a mistrial in less than 2 days when the first note came. They wanted a mistrial, the defense, and it was actually the prosecution that was arguing, "No, give them more time. I want them to fucking start going in there," and that was pretty interesting to me.
I mean, even after the last note, though, I feel like, and usually after the second time they do call, the mistrial, but I feel like the note itself and the way the foreman wrote it, which was our deep held convictions. Well, I have a news for you. Your deep held convictions don't matter. You're supposed to put those aside. That's the whole point of being a juror. It's your civic duty to put those aside and look at the evidence. So if I was the judge, in my opinion, I would have had to have a note go back to them, letting them know that their deep held convictions do not matter. Sorry, not sorry, but they don't.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole thing is very sad. The whole thing.
The claims do make zero sense, and it does contradict exactly what the foreman wrote in his note. So it's like, if people can't see that, I don't know how to.
And that's why I think the defense is going to abandon the whole third party culprit. I think it would be like the smartest defense. I'm sorry, I'm doing an oxymoron here. I think the smartest defense they could do was basically, I would say, to focus on a rushed investigation and basically them rushing to a suspect, and that they could have been there's certain evidence called into question. This whole thing where they tried to say he was in the house and got beat up, I think it's unbelievable, because they have the GPS. They have the GPS data that shows he never entered. You got, you try to do the 227, but you got these two witnesses from Celebrite, and
debunked it. Not just Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde, but Trooper Garino also debunked it.
Yeah, right? I mean,
so it's you got 3 or 4 people saying that's not what happened at all, and then Richard Green, who had to actually apologize.
I mean, and to me, that just like anyone that says the 227 time, you're woefully ignorant to the point where there's literally 4 experts that basically destroyed that 227 time. It's just not even a theory. It's not even like a thought. It's literally doesn't exist. It was 623 or 624 at the times that was done. It was explained in detail with multiple witnesses. And I think like the closing argument, I think the opening from Yenny was good because Lolly wasn't that great. He didn't have emotion. But I think Jackson's closing argument was terrible because I feel like he was trying to make all these connections with all this bullshit conspiracies that didn't even make sense to like anyone that had a brain. And I think Lolly did a great closing that with the timeline, but I think next time he needs to wrap that shit up and make it go quicker so he can read his last 2 pages. But he needs to work on some emotions here. In the beginning, he needs the same energy he had at the closing. He needs to have that same energy in the opening
throughout the whole thing. And I think he did want it over. Sidebar. I mean, I would want it over if I were him too, because it's a nightmare. He also gets harassed and, made fun of. And I'm sure, his family is done dealing with it.
Yeah. And I'm sure he wants this fucking trial over as much as anyone, because this thing has been a constant problem for him to deal with for the past couple of years. And I have a lot of respect for Mr. Lolly. He's doing his job. He's not really fucking, he's not going out in press conferences and doing the circuits of stuff like that. But, I think he's just trying to do his job. And unfortunately, people come after him and act like he's like, he's part of this conspiracy. No, he's just prosecuting a case.
Just doing his job, dude. I got to pee, Tim. Can you hold this down for a second?
Sure. I mean, he's just doing his job. But, wrap it up. Best defense, totally botched investigation, rushed to judgment. Yeah, I mean, that would have been Barbie. That would have been the best defense, to be completely honest with you. And I think multiple attorneys would have agreed with that. This whole third-party culprit thing where you're trying to say he went in the house and he got beat up by a bunch of kids and, attacked by a dog and all this stuff, to me, I don't know why they didn't focus on they clearly don't know if this person was hit by a car. He could have walked out of, all we know, he could have walked out the car, slipped on ice and hit his head on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these marks. There's no way. I mean, I probably would have went with that. I probably would have said, oh, well, you know what? Maybe he just walked out of the car. He was drunk, slipped on us, hit his head. Then Mr. Blind Eyewitness, fucking Lucky, comes in with his snowplow and scoops him over and does those marks on his arms because he's blind as a bat and he can't see anything.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I probably would have went with. I probably would have went with the whole he slipped on the ground, hit his head on frozen ground.
I would have went with there was a third thing that happened outside of the 2 ridiculous, conspiracies that the defense has and the one that the Commonwealth has. If I was the attorney, I would have said a third thing happened. But they just weren't smart enough, apparently. I don't know. But also, how do you get the problem with that is how do you get away with that with taillight pieces in his clothes and GPS that never moved?
Oh, you can argue there. So. You can argue maybe I don't know, man. I got to make up a bullshit reason. You can say I guess you could say he could try. I don't know. Maybe that was the original thought process of the defense trying, the FBI trying to see if the cocktail glass could break the taillight. Maybe that was the original concept. They were gonna go with the slip and stuff. But yeah, that'd be pretty hard to fucking explain. But you know what? Either way,
right. That's the problem. It would be very hard to explain where those taillight pieces came from.
I gotta think of a new theory. I don't know.
Right? With the taillight pieces, it's hard to be okay, well, those taillight pieces, those were definitely there because why?
It's not just around him, it's embedded in his clothes. Right. It's okay.
So it's hard to explain that away,
Yeah.
Really hard to explain that away.
I
the odds that during the same time Karen was absolutely raging at John. Yeah, right. So that's the hard thing to get past for the attorney. But I just don't think the conspiracy was the way to go. They could have just argued that it was just a terrible accident, and that I think she would have been acquitted, just like the other lady who actually hit her husband. He laid in the snow and she didn't know until the next morning. She spent the night at a hotel, came home, didn't see him. She got off because she didn't know she hit him.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a better defense, to be completely honest with you. And then she could have, and those messages could have been argued in the fact that she could have said, "Well, I wouldn't have left those messages if I knew he was in the snow. I didn't know he was in the snow. I was mad at him. I just left. I didn't know." And she probably
Right.
would have
But I
got
also would have
off.
testified because I want to show how innocent I am by testifying because I know the
Oh.
truth and I'm going to tell the truth. Like,
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The whole
you're
case, I
fucking
think
kidding me.
in the
There is a
beginning,
car. See this, P. Tim? There is a. I can't. The man that can't see 5 feet in front of him with an illuminated screen is the hero.
yeah, that's the funny thing is that guy's gonna have to testify again, and he's gonna enjoy it. He's gonna really enjoy himself the second time coming around.
Yeah, except he's not going to be able to match his answers up the second time.
Yeah, and he's gonna sound a little different, and he's gonna not be so sure. Like, this is what the problem is. It's like perjury is a crime, and when they prove it's perjury, they're gonna go after him.
Oh, they are. And usually they don't. Usually they don't go after people who commit perjury because it's just something they don't normally take up, right? Because it's hard to prove perjury. And it's hard to prove that the person just isn't misremembering or, you know what I'm saying? So usually they don't go after people. But something like this, they're going to make an example out of people doing this shit. Like they just are. It's not going to let this fly.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people, unfortunately, Karen Reed has destroyed the lives of not only the people that she's gone after, but also her own followers. Aiden Kearney had a wife. He was living with his wife, kids, and also he, wasn't going to jail. And now he's going to go to jail. There's a bunch. There's the Canton Nine, apparently. They're going to jail.
They're still not, they still haven't gotten an answer as to whether they're going to be actually, they had a clerk hearing. They have not, magistrate's hearing, clerk magistrate's hearing, and they still have not been told whether they're actually going to continue with the charges or not. And it's been since like the summer.
Yeah, you got all these people whose lives are being completely wrecked. So that one woman doesn't do 1 year in jail. Okay.
I know they can't use it against her that she didn't testify, but I sure can because I know why she didn't testify. Like they would ruin her on a cross-examination.
Yeah, she would be destroyed. She would be worse than Murdoch, to be honest with you. And that guy was a joke.
That's debatable, Side Barbie, because you have to remember the addresses he got the witnesses, he got them from Karen.
Yeah,
like he got all that information from her. So it's like she is at fault for some of what he did because she knew what he was going to do with it.
And think about this much. Let's say we work in the world that she just supplied him with information. Imagine the situation now that you supplied someone with information, and now they're using that information to do rolling rallies, protest in front of the witnesses, harass people. Would you think that you would still work with a guy like that? The answer is no, unless that's exactly what you wanted him to do. You wanted him to do those things. So you continue to work with him. She could have stopped at any time from texting and messaging him and say, "Hey, I'm not going to work with you anymore."
Or stop. Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
At any point.
Don't do that or we won't give you any more information.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, she did not do that.
She did zero of that. She liked it, thought it was funny, told them, and there are messages for this that will come out at his trial. Fuck them. Oh, well.
Yeah. But anyway. Anyway, I got to go. You have a good one.
Thanks, B. Tim.
No problem. Bye.
Any remorse would have. You're right. It would have gone a long freaking way for her. And she showed about zero. None. None at all.
All right. You have a good one.
Thanks, B. Tim. She should have. Absolutely. Even if it was in private. And she didn't, you guys. That's the problem. She didn't. She did not. She allowed him to continue with it. And she kept working with him. And it's just sad. Like, there are so many lives that have been affected by this. The O'Keefes, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and so many others. Every person, by the way, that testified on behalf of the Commonwealth, aside from 2 people, were harassed during when they were on the stand, after they were on the stand. It's disgusting, but it happened. Some of them had to take leaves from their jobs because their jobs were being consistently called and they needed time to just step away from being harassed by this relentless mob of people. And then there are the ones of us, very few of us, that come here to tell the truth. And Make no mistake. We get the harassing phone calls, text messages, DMs, you name it, and it happens every single day since November. Every single day we get them. So make no mistake, just because we don't announce it every day doesn't mean that we don't deal with that constant harassment. I know what comes with speaking the truth that I know. I'm very well aware. I'm very well aware when I decided to do it that I was going to lose money. I was going to lose viewers. I was going to lose my friggin' sanity probably from all the harassment. And I'm very well aware that showing up at the protest was going to cause a ruckus. I'm very well aware that all of those things were going to affect me. But if we allow people to bully us into silence, which is what the sewer turtle has done for so long, threaten and bully and intimidate people into silence so they just go away and he can continue doing what he's done, then who the hell are we and what are we showing our kids if we allow that to continue happening? What kind of person would I be if I just said, you know what, self-preservation mode, fuck it, I'm not going to do shit? For me, that's not an option because that's just not the type of person that I am. You know, if you are silent, it allows them to keep going. And I hope that going to that counter protest showed you guys that you can walk through the depths of hell, come out the other side and still tell the truth, not be silenced and not be bullied and not be harassed. And I hope that more people come forward from what they have dealt with, because there are people who come to me privately like, oh, I've been harassed by him. Look at these messages. He threatened me. So I won't say anything because he threatened me. I don't think it's brave. I think it's just the right thing to do as human beings. Something does need to be done about it, but I highly doubt it will be. Besides the charges he's already facing and some other people. I highly doubt it. You know, if they didn't, here's my problem with that. If they didn't do their homework when it came to him, they sure as hell knew shortly after and chose to continue moving on with it. That's on them. And they can blame nobody but themselves, and they could have stopped at any point. They could have used someone else. They could have stopped at any point. And they continued to allow him to do it. Like, you know, nobody, no one's harassing Karen Reed, right? No matter how many of us think she's guilty, nobody's harassing Karen Reed, right? Like, so I think it's funny when they're just like, well, you're all just vile pieces of shit. We're vile pieces of shit because you don't believe the same thing we do and we speak facts. Oh, okay, cool. Got it. Sure. Like, you know, it does, hillbilly. Being silent gives them power, right? You got to take your power back. Take it back. Don't let them have it. Like, oh, I am. Oh, I am. Oh, I am covering that trial. You best believe I am. Yeah, Yannetti. Like, bro, that right there shows that they don't care. They just need the mouth, right? And the other mouths that he controls. They need those, right? They need those no matter what. Like, I'm not saying that other people haven't. You know, I try not to attack people personally because it's not my jam. But, you know, the two people that I will probably never atone to that is him, because he deserves no courtesy from me or from anyone else that he has affected their lives. Sorry, he had none when it came to our children. And my child has a terminal illness. He had the audacity to try to say something about my child. I'm sorry, that's not a thing. No. He brings people's children and families, and I'm sorry, he deserves nothing from me. And Lorena, the lady in the wheelchair, who spews pure venom and lies and then made up an assault when we have it on camera numerous times. I'm sorry, but she will never get that courtesy from me. Anyone else? Sure. Because I'm not that kind of person. But those two don't get that courtesy from me. Period. Like, well, you know, he thought he was too big for his britches. He thought he was untouchable. He admits it. Still thinks that way, though. See, once he got out of jail, he went back doing the same thing, you know? Like, and it's why we went down there. And then somebody had the audacity to say, well, I'm a First Amendment person. I believe in First Amendment, but they aren't sincere. So, you know, I'd say fine if I thought they were sincere. What? Dude, we went down there because 20 to 30 of you Free Karen Reed people went down, all the way down to where the family was, the O'Keefes. They weren't right there near the courthouse. You had to go a while. And you went down there to harass them. So we went down the next day to say, no, this isn't okay. It's not okay. Yet we're not sincere. Oh, and the best one was, same person tried to say that we, the 10 of us that went there the first day, we're just trying to silence voices. Seems to me as if the people who made signs about us the second day that people went are the ones trying to silence us. There's only a small amount of us because too many people are too afraid to have their lives torn up because of it. So, you know, like, come on. It's not okay. In no way, shape, or form is that behavior okay. You're all grown adults, right? The O'Keefes have done nothing to anybody. They're trying to deal with the death. It's not an easy thing to do, okay? And on top of it, they got to deal with this bullshit. In what planet is that okay? By any stretch of the imagination? You know? Like, that's the problem, side Barbie. If there was just a little bit, just a smidgen of self-reflection, I think people could, get past it. And maybe if there was a little growth, people could be like, you know what? People make mistakes. Like, you learn from it, you grow. Like, that's how life works, right? But there's zero of that. And I don't think there ever will be. There hasn't been in 10 years, as far as anyone can tell. Everything is everyone else's fault. He's always the victim. It's no one, never wrong. He never retracts something that's false. He just never talks about it again. So there's no accountability whatsoever at all. Literally, this is somebody who took pictures of his own children and tried to frame another YouTuber with it and then laughed about it in a Facebook group and planned it in this Facebook group with other people about how they were going to set someone up with pictures of their own children. And then, because we didn't get that evidence until after the court happened, brought that evidence, that fake evidence he made, to a court. And that's the third time that we know of that he has brought in fake, doctored, made up evidence into court. Normal people don't do that. Like, normal people don't do that. It's not normal. Like, well, you have to remember this is the same person that seems to think that if Karen Read is found guilty, that his charges magically evaporate into thin air and he's good to go. And I don't know what his attorney is telling him, but he should be fired immediately if that's what he's telling him, because whether she's found not guilty or guilty has no bearing on his charges whatsoever. So I don't know where he got that idea from. Like, and yeah, one day that's what's going to happen. But there's this thing called karma, and I believe in it. And if you put bad karma into the world and you do bad things to people, bad karma will find you eventually, and it will catch up with you. The universe will course correct on you. You know, I don't even want to call it tenacity, because it's not tenacity. It's self-preservation. It's run by a need for fame and fortune. It's not run in self-preservation and hiding his own dirt. It's not run by actual tenacity to get to the truth. It's run by narcissism and greed, gluttony, right? Like, well, I think he did assume that, RP, but he assumed wrong. There's gonna be a lot of pressure on them to make sure that the man's looking at like between like 120 and 160 years in jail, dude. He's looking at more than she is. Was it worth it, bro? Yeah, that one gets me. Dude, we have pictures of children, these people's children, holding disparaging signs about us, the counter protesters. What in your mind would make you like, let me write this disparaging sign about things that I don't know to be true about someone that I've never met? But I'm going to write them anyway, because this guy on the internet says it's true. I'm going to write it about this people and then put their pictures on there, and I'm going to hold signs about them, because that's how mad I am that they came to counter protest, and I'm not morally bankrupt in any way. And then I'm going to give it to my child and proudly allow my child to hold slanderous and defamatory statements to disparage other people. I thought you were there to protest for Karen Read. That's the opposite of what you say you're there for. I'm sorry, but I don't know how any parent in their right mind would do something like that. It's not normal behavior. Like, it's just not. Like, you know, you reap what you sow, right? You reap what you sow. My grandmother used to use that. You reap what you sow, and it's true. Like, he has, because he's been doing it a lot longer. Got to remember, Karen Read case isn't the first time he was destroying lives, dude. It's just the first time I guess a lot of people were paying attention. He was doing it for many years before this, and of course I didn't know that because I didn't know really of him. And so people, like, when people ask, why are you a turtle? I was never a turtle writer. Never said I was a turtle writer in any way, shape, or form. I followed this case. not everyone who was following this case is a turtle writer, right? Like, but the ones that self-proclaim that they are turtle writers and free Karen readers, and they have no problem calling people vile names, calling children schools, people's jobs, showing up at their houses, sending them text messages, emails, DMs. Like, you don't stop and think before you do any of this that, like, hey, I'm a grown adult, and just because I don't agree with that person doesn't mean I need to do all this extra shit. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm never going to waste my time doing that. Not ever. I don't agree with you. Cool. I have plenty of friends I don't agree with. Guess what? We're still friends. Why? Because, oh my God, imagine this. You can have a civil conversation with people and you can actually not agree on certain things and still be really good friends. Imagine that. Imagine a civil world where you can do some shit like that. Isn't it freaking amazing, everyone? Isn't it? I have plenty of people that come in here and think she's innocent. One of my real good friends, Jersey, she thinks she's innocent. She comes here. I have plenty of people who think she's innocent. Do I agree? No, I disagree. I still love their faces. I still love them. There's still plenty of things we do enjoy as friends, right? We don't have to agree on every single thing. Just like most people don't agree on religion or politics or, you know, like, you can actually disagree with people and not be a vile piece of shit. I think the problem is that people are seeing this vile piece of shit behavior and then they think it's okay because they saw someone else do it and they're like, oh, he can do it, so I can do it. Like, and it shows you what kind of person he is by not coming out and saying, you know what, guys, don't do that. At any point, he could say, please don't do that on my behalf. Please don't do that in the name. You're giving us a bad name, you know, as a movement. Like, please don't do things like that. Because I would never encourage people to do things like that. It's stupid. It makes no sense. Like, don't harass people. It's not hard. Like, you don't have to agree with them, but you don't have to harass them either. Like, it's fucking stupid and a waste of time. Like, but not once, not one time have those words ever come out of his mouth. And how many lives is he affected by just continuously spewing the same lie over and over and over and over? A lot. The answer is a lot at this point. You know, like, well, I really didn't know him before this case. Didn't really follow him. I knew of like his sports thing way back in the day, but didn't really follow him. Didn't really know much about him. So, you know, I guess it goes to show that you probably need to learn a little more about the things that person stands for before you follow a case involving that person. I also didn't think that anyone would be as vile or as much of a liar, or like, I guess you don't think anyone could be that nasty, right? Like, I am a people person. I happen to like people in general, right? Like, and so I don't think anybody ever thinks like, hey, this person's going to be a vile piece of shit that just lies to hide their own shit, or lies because they don't agree with someone, or lies because they're hiding things and this person knows too much. So I'm going to say things about them so that people stop listening to them, because then they won't believe what they're saying about me. And I found out later on that's a pattern of behavior he's been doing for years. And every time it's the same. You can literally predict it at this point. I predicted when he was going to turn on the Roccos. I predicted when he was going to go T-minus 5 minute cuckoo on them. Like, it's just a matter of time with anyone. It's literally a matter of time with any of the people that are dealing with him right now. It's just a matter of time before he turns on each and every one of them as well. It's not an if, it's a when. And that's the pattern of behavior. And clearly someone like that is stuck in those patterns and they never stop. Like, I don't know who did that. So I have no idea about the turtle, but I do know this. I do know that it wasn't Kate and it wasn't Lindsay, because I know exactly where they were because I was on the phone with them. And they have an airtight alibi on where they were, and they were actually nowhere near there. So the fact that he would even come out and try to blame them is not only ridiculous, but they have phones that show where their location was. They're genius. Make sure before you, like, you know, try to blame somebody for something, once again, with no evidence and no proof, that they don't have an airtight alibi and we're nowhere near the scene. Maybe that, right? I know he wants it to be them because he has nobody else to blame. And I don't condone anybody killing animals or stringing them up in places. You know, my father committed suicide by hanging. So that, you know, not something I like to see. But it is what it is, you know, like, I don't know who did it or who didn't. I'm sure they'll find out, you know, but I know two people who didn't that were accused of it. And I was home with you guys. So yeah, there's no one else to blame. Right. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he did it himself. He's often quite a few times done things like that just to blame other people on purpose. So at this point, I don't know who the fuck would, you know, hang a turtle near his parents' house. Stupid nonetheless, but don't accuse people of doing shit that I know for a fact 100% were nowhere near there and have an airtight alibi. Like, come on now. You can't just willy-nilly be like, oh, I think this person did it. They were nowhere near there. Nowhere near there. Literally nowhere. Like, it would. And yes, crazy wild accusations. Like, I like animals. I don't, my daughter has service animals, dogs, one being a German Shepherd, one being a Husky. I like animals. I don't like to see animals injured, not even squirrels. It was one time I almost hit a squirrel and I jammed on the brakes and I was like, run, little squirrel, run. Like, just ran out in the street, you have no idea the amount of projection that I've seen. I literally think that I literally kid you not when I say there needs to be a study, because the amount of projection I've seen there, I've literally never seen anyone do ever in my life. And remember, I worked with the criminally insane, you guys. I worked in a prison for the criminally insane. So I've seen quite a bit. And I have never seen someone project as much as that man does. Hello, Casey. You missed about an hour and 52 minutes. Yeah, well, can we get some back? Can we get some of those manners back as a society, people to just like lend a helping hand to one another, be kind, like help your neighbor out, call your friends, make sure they're okay. Like, every single day there's someone in your life, whether it's family, friend, loved one, next door neighbor, that's friggin' struggling. Like, and I mean struggling, whether it's monetarily, mentally, emotionally. Like, there is someone in your life that's struggling that you don't even know about, because people don't take the time out to check, right? And most people aren't going to be like, hey, I'm really struggling and I need help. Why? Because nowadays, if you ask for help, you get shamed for that. You get shamed for asking for help. Nobody should be shamed for asking for help, because not everybody has family. FYI, if you have family that help you, guess what? Not everyone does. Think about the people that don't, right? So I think everyone needs to take a step back in all of this and think, what can I do as a human to be a better person? Just a little, I try to live by my mantra, which is be a better person today than you were yesterday. Sometimes we fail as that because we're humans. So we're going to fail at it sometimes, right? But try to learn something, every day that you can learn to do better the next time around, right? Like, because as humans, we can learn and grow, right? And we can do it together, and we can hold each other accountable, and we can hold each other up and pat each other on the back and lend a helping hand when we need it, because I think it's important to have each other's backs. Like somebody earlier was mentioning someone else's channel, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Don't be. I believe in helping other people. I believe in helping other creators. I know I'm a smaller channel than most, so I don't know how much help I can give other channels, but I don't mind people mentioning other people's channels, because I think we should help each other out, especially smaller creators, because we're bottom, right? Like, you got 30, 40,000, you're sort of like here-ish trying to grow, but like you got plenty of viewers, you're getting plenty of money coming in, and then you have the millions and millions over here. But the very small, just a couple thousand or 1,000 and under, it's really hard to hit the algorithm and have people find you more, right? Like, and I think everybody should put a helping hand out, help each other. So if it means mentioning someone else's stream, I am happy to do it, right? Like, whatever little part of that I can do to help, I'll do it. Like, because I believe everybody should, Yeah, no, absolutely not. We all love animals. Like, so it's like just, that was, again, wild accusation per usual. Like, I mean, why can't it be during this case? Like, why? Why does it have to be after? Why? Why can't it be now? Why can't it be now? Why can't we do it now? Like, why? For me, it's like, I know this case has brought out a lot of bad in a lot of people, but it's also brought out a lot of good in a lot of people. If it wasn't for this case, I wouldn't have met some really amazing, awesome people. And, there's a lot of shit that a lot of us have been through because of this case that isn't so great. But if there's one silver lining, I have friendships now forever that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And people who have been through sort of the same things, or things that are similar to me in life. And I wouldn't have those relationships if it wasn't for this case. And yeah, we can do simple things like hold the door for a stranger, help your neighbor carry their groceries up. Simple things. You have no idea how much a smile or a hug can make someone's day, or like complimenting them on something. Like, it can change someone's whole day. Just the small things that don't even cost $1 or a penny, but a little bit of your time. It's how I teach my kids to be a good human, right? And not be a bully. And it starts with us. And we sure as hell can't be running around holding disparaging signs about other people and letting our children hold them and then claiming we're almighty, good people. Like, that's the behavior you don't show your children. Those are things you shouldn't be doing, right? Like let's not do those things. Let's leave the O'Keefes alone. Let's let them try to deal with the situation the best way they know how. Let's stop calling them names because it's gross. And under no circumstances is it ever okay to disparage a murder victim's family or their friends or people who have not been charged with a crime. People want this whole, well, Karen's innocent until proven guilty, but you don't want to give that same courtesy to the Alberts and McCabe's who have been charged with no crime. In how many years? No crime. But the FBI has said are not targets of any investigation. FYI, they didn't do anything wrong. The FBI has corroborated their statements. There was no conspiracy found. There was no cover-up found. It's not that hard to figure out. These are just people making their lives hell every day. That's what you pat yourself on the back for? Come on. I have covered Sandra's case twice. I have a very outspoken opinion on Sandra's case, but I will not align with anybody who thought it was okay to harass the O'Keefe family. I will not align with anybody who thought it was okay to harass and torture the Alberts and McCabe's, because I don't stand for that. Even when I thought Karen was innocent, I didn't partake in any of that. Going to their house, screaming things at them, calling, minors the C word. What? What? I will align with anyone who wants justice, who doesn't partake in those things, and who are willing to actually use their critical thinking skills and not ignore actual real life evidence, because I've seen a lot of ignoring shit in this case. A lot. Quite a bit. But like I said before, I have no problem having other people on my show and vice versa, because conversations are the way things happen. Hello, I've been doing advocacy for 18 years. As a volunteer advocate, I've worked with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle to change laws, to help people in my state. So I've done the whole talking to people who I don't agree with all the time on things. And I don't agree with either side because I'm an independent and always have been. I believe in my gun rights. I think they're very important. I believe in the Constitution, but I also don't think people should live in poverty. They should be able to work a job and be able to afford food and a place to live without a problem if they're working a 40-hour-a-week job. So I've worked with people who I don't agree with, but the one thing I won't do is I will not take my morals and throw them out the window for anybody. I didn't in this case, and I won't when it comes to anything else. And I don't have respect for the people that continue to just grift off this. I could have easily just kept screaming free Karen Read until the cows came home. And I would have spent half this show, or at least a quarter of it, reading donations. I've been on here for 2 hours. I've gotten one donation for $10 from Brewhound, and I appreciate you for that. I could have just kept screaming free Karen Read and watched my donations go up and up and up. I'm not even covering costs right now to run my channel, never mind making anything, okay? But I'm not going to take my morals and throw them out the window for anyone. I didn't do it in this case, and I'm not going to do it for anyone else. It's not how I roll. I'm not going to sit and lie to my audience for money and clicks and views. I'm going to tell what the truth is, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. If it is the truth, and that's where the evidence leads, I'm going to say it, whether it's the popular opinion or not. I'm going to also tell the things I know to be 100% true, even if it's not popular and even if people don't want to hear it. It costs me to tell the truth, especially in this case. It cost me a lot, more than you guys know. And I'm not just talking about money. All right. But I had two options: lie to my audience for clicks, views, and money, or tell the truth because it's the right fucking thing to do as a human. Well, we know which one I chose, right? You know, my PayPal did that to me too, RP. I don't know. It like wanted to send cents, and it took like 3 days to send some cents to my bank account to like update it or approve it or whatever. I don't know what, like, I don't know why it was doing that. Like, that was like, I want to say probably like a month ago it was doing that to me. So maybe they're doing it in like batches. I have no idea. That's weird though. It won't let you update your, is it like your card, like you got a new card and it was like out of date? Is that the problem? Because it's like the same thing, but like with different numbers. Because it was doing that to me too. It wouldn't like verify my bank. So what I did was I just put my like Venmo card on it and it let me add like my Venmo card. So I was able to do it that way instead of like my, and then finally after like 3 weeks, it let me actually do it. But I don't know why it took so long. That's PayPal for you. Like that's PayPal for you. Well, you have to remember, oh, it's the bank. Oh, yeah, you got to do the whole like verification over again then. That's why, because you took it off. So you have to like verify it again, which is obnoxious, but that's why you have to do it to get it to work again. That's why I had to do it to get it to work again. Might work for you if you try it. I don't know. Worked for me that way. But again, it's PayPal we're talking about, so who knows? You have to remember the Canton PD isn't the one like the Stoughton PD. These are two different towns, Stoughton and Canton. Stoughton PD is the one that had the officers that did Sandra wrong. Those are the officers, not the Canton PD. The Canton PD were the ones who were called to check on Sandra. They're the ones who found her. But by no stretch of the imagination were they the ones that, you know, had corrupt dealings with her when she was a kid and then on. That was the Stoughton PD. So I know that people want to blame Canton PD because they're the ones who found her and did whatever they did when they investigated and wrote things. But the ultimate determination of her death was by the medical examiner, not the police. So again, like it was found in Canton because that's where she lived. But the officers are not Canton officers that had relations with her. They're Stoughton officers. You know? Oh yeah, it's definitely hard. Like, you know, it's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard. It is hard when you're not, first of all, running a YouTube channel in general is difficult. Okay. First, you have to cover your costs before you make anything at all. And I'm barely doing that by a long shot. So yeah, it is hard when you know that tomorrow I may not be able to run the channel, or next week I may not be able, if I can't even cover the cost. Yeah, it's difficult because I love my channel. I love my viewers. I love interacting with people. I like showing people that it's okay to say the truth without being afraid. And if I can do it, you can do it. Right. Like, but I'm just a tiny creator, just a little tiny, less than 2,000, subs. Like my monetization is paused because of these free Karen Reed people. So right now the only options I have to even get donations are PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. And that's it. So nobody can do super chats or super stickers right now. So yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard, but I knew that when I made the choice to go from thinking she was innocent to getting all this evidence while I was sick with pneumonia, being like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then getting all the inside information that I had, which was like, oh, great. Now what am I going to do? Like, I had to think about that decision long and hard, but I did what I thought was the right thing to do. And I continue to do what I think is the right thing to do. It's not hard. It's not easy. Like, I know the harassment that comes along with saying what I say. I know these people know no limits when it comes to harassing people. A lot of us do. Hence why some people just don't say anything. I get so many messages from people who privately just are too afraid to say anything. And I can't blame them. None of us can. But if I just did that, then what am I teaching my kids? Right? Like, and it's not who I am. Somebody who's been a volunteer advocate for 18 years. I've been fighting for the underdog and injustices and corruption for 18 years. Right? Like, that's literally what I have been doing with my spare time for 18 years, helping other people. That doesn't hold to who I am if I just keep screaming free Karen Reed when I know it not to be true. Right? I knew what was going to happen. That's what happened, and it is what it is. All I can do from here is continue, telling the truth. And if that doesn't build my channel, then so be it. Maybe it won't be around forever. But what I can do in the meantime is just do this, right? And that's all I can do. And I hope that it inspires other people to be able to tell the truth and speak up for people being bullied or slandered or defamed or harassed. Lindsay has been relentlessly harassed. Leah was relentlessly harassed and still gets trolls that want to contact her. Like, two of the best people I know. If you knew them in real life, you would know that, right? But none of these people do. They just assume because someone told them they're bad that they must be bad. And it's just not true. And I really wish people had gotten to know them before just spewing hate, nonsense, and venom because someone else told them to. Hold on. I get it. I totally get it. That would be like a dream, right? Like, that would be a dream to just unify everyone on behalf of something good. I just don't see that happening because I feel like, old habits die hard with people. And until people start showing me that they thought about it and realize, oh shit, that's not the right thing to do, and like start saying like, stop harassing people, it's not okay, then those aren't people that I would work with. There's plenty of other people I will, like, you'd be surprised at the people that I'm friendly with. Oh, maybe that's what you gotta do. Enter the new one, delete the old one. Might be. It was Chris. Yeah, it was Chris. He was like 22 at the time. And no, they didn't protect Chris. He was charged. Oh damn. That's terrible. That is freaking awful. You gotta get like PayPal or something. It's just more secure. Like, Venmo and Cash App I've never had a problem with. I've never been hacked on them, thankfully. I know two people that were like scammed by somebody sending them like a request for money, and they thought it was somebody sending them money, so they accepted and it sent the money to them. So you gotta be careful of that, but you can shut requests off. Remember that, everyone? You can shut off requests. But I've never had a problem with PayPal. So maybe that's what you should use for like online shopping and stuff. Because I don't say like don't ever do anything online. That's probably not. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a risk in doing online, but nowadays they're way better about getting your money back, Venmo and Cash App, because they're under a lot of scrutiny for like not giving people their money back before. So now like they don't really have a choice. The government has put the hammer down on them because they were getting away with it for quite some time. And like, oh, too bad you were hacked. We're not giving you your money back. Like, now they kind of have to. They don't have a choice. I help people do that all the time. It's one of the things I do as an advocate is get on three-way calls and start calling people and letting them know, hey, Venmo, hey, Cash App, and that's illegal, right? You're going to need to give them their money back. Maybe you got to call some higher ups. It's a lot, 2 to 3 hours sometimes on the phone before they actually start issuing the refunds. It's obnoxious. All these things they want you to do, papers you want to fill out, even when it has nothing to do with what happened. It's fucking obnoxious. No, it was Chris. It was Chris. Well, that was when Chris was 22, or it was either 22 or younger. He was young. He was young. But yes, the point definitely still stands, Kings. 100%. Very valid point. 100%. Well, kind of that's the problem, right? Like, instead of a mob, it's like a gang, a cult. It's very cultish. It's like, believe everything our leader says, and, make sure that if something comes up that looks bad, we just ignore it. Or we try to explain it away by saying everyone's corrupt and we can't believe anything they say. Because that's literally what happens. If there's a piece of evidence, they start going, well, everyone's corrupt anyway, so we can't believe that evidence. That's not logic and reason. And that's not logical to say, oh, well, because we don't believe any evidence because anybody who brings evidence is corrupt and bad. So we don't believe any of it. That's not logical, like in any way, shape, or form. And yes, it exposes that cover up for you to say, like, nobody's held accountable, but Chris was very much held accountable for that mistake he made as a young person. I know that's not a joke, Ron. It's very much real. Hello, Cookie. Very much real. Not a joke. Can you believe it? I know, right? Yes, case by case is 100% right. I live here. I grew up in Norfolk County. So there's a lot of things that I know, right? All these content creators aren't from here. They don't know anything about Canton or Norfolk County in general. They don't know shit about shit. They act like they do. Not from Massachusetts. They don't live anywhere near there. They didn't grow up anywhere near there. They don't know any of these people. They pretend like they know lots of things. And then when I'm like, that's not even a thing. Like, when I say people like, oh, how do you know? I live here. I grew up in Norfolk County. I've worked with law enforcement, lawyers, politicians in my advocacy work, and when I worked for the prison. I have a lot of life experience in a lot of different things. As most of you know, I'm 16 years sober from opiates. I've worked in addiction, mental health. I used to do drywall way back in the day. I was a dancer for a long period of time. Like, I've done a lot of things in my life. Been to a lot of places, seen a lot of stuff, have a lot of experience in a bunch of different stuff filled with useless information. But law, as we know, has always been my passion. It's always something that I wanted, was to finish school, be a lawyer, take the bar. It wasn't in my cards. With my daughter's medical, people keep trying to push me to do it. And believe you me, even at 37, I think about it often. But A, you'd have to have the money. B, you'd have to have the time. And I have neither of those things right now with all the stuff I got going on. I got my biological dad that I'm helping take care of, and my sister lives in Indiana, so I'm the only one. And then my kids. And then I have my own health problems. And you still got to run a house. And it's a lot. So I don't think I could add law school on top of that right now. Well, see, that's the problem, right? If you want to get out, and we've seen it, right? If you want to get out and you realize you're wrong, and I literally see this almost every day in my DMs, okay? Where it's someone's like, hey, I just found out something that I think that you already knew behind closed doors, and they'll tell me what it is. And I'll say, yep, I've known that for quite some time. And they're like, oh, I just got the evidence of this, and I am afraid, and I need out of this mob. And I'm afraid to say anything to anyone because I know that they're going to ostracize me and then defame me and slander me. And I've watched them do it to other people, and I don't know what to do. And my advice to them is only you can decide what to do. Whether you're willing to stand up and say whatever, or you quietly back out. That's up to you. I can't tell you what to do or what's best for you. Only you know what's best for you, or what you feel is right for you. But anybody that attempts to leave, that is what happens to them. The hypocrisy is amazing. Oh my God, Scientology. Don't get me started. I mean, here's the thing. You don't know you're in a cult until you get out of a cult, right? Like, and obviously not everybody who thinks Karen is innocent is in a cult, right? But like most of these people that self-proclaim themselves turtle riders and that are free Karen readers are pretty much in a cult. Because if you can't admit that your leader has done some really shitty things and has outright lied to you, and it's been proven, even he contradicts himself, literally sometimes sentence after sentence, and you're not seeing it because you would rather believe in this thing more than actually seeing what's actually happening. It's like someone telling you, you didn't see what you just saw and you didn't hear what you just heard. That's like not normal behavior. That's like some Jim Jones shit, right? That's some big fat Jim Jones shit. Like, you gotta be like, what? Like, what the hell? Like, You know, I've heard this quite a few times. Quite a few times. I cannot confirm or deny that because I have no idea. But I have heard it. I have heard how angry he was when Nick Rocco sort of replaced him. And, you know, look at the love letter he wrote from prison and then tried to claim he didn't know it was going to be in there. You handed it to the journalist. Of course you knew it was going to be in there. Like, you know, I could go the paralegal route, but I don't feel like I'd be doing much good. Paralegals don't really do much. You know, I'd be way more useful actually practicing the law that I know, you know? But I don't know, you know, like I've heard this, Natalie, many times, many times. I mean, I guess everybody would have to decide for themselves. According to that note and a few other things, I think we can all deduce that there are some feelings there. Oh my God, Heaven's Gate cult. What's that person's name? Someone has to know the name of the person who's the Heaven's Gate cult leader. Someone has to know. I studied cults for a while because it was fascinating to me how so many people could just believe like one person, no matter what they said, even when you started seeing red flags. That is what gets me, is when you start seeing red flags, normal people go, wait a second, hold on. That's a little strange. That's a little weird. And one of the ones that there are two that really get me, which is obviously Jim Jones. That was one that really got me. But the other one that really got me was Mount Carmel in Texas. David Koresh. That one was Marshall Applewhite. Thank you. That guy's freaky. I don't know. I don't pay attention to his shoes. No idea. But those two were just like some of the people who even like got out, some of the survivors of Mount Carmel still to this day believe in that sort of cult mentality. I watched one lady, one of the most recent documentaries about it, and I'm like, when I kid you not, when I say she was batshit, she was worse than some of the people that I had in the jail that were criminally insane, that were not fit to stand trial because they were criminally insane. Like, she was gunzo. And I'm like, why would they put this poor woman on TV? She's literally making herself look terrible. Like, still believing in this sort of thing, right? Oh, did they? Yeah, exactly. Here's your Kool-Aid, y'all. I'm telling you, it's expired. It's very much expired Kool-Aid. You know, very expired Kool-Aid. I mean, if you want to donate to the expired Kool-Aid fund on my channel, this is how you do it, right? We don't drink expired Kool-Aid, though. We drink coffee, and we have chats, and we try to be better people. Even though sometimes we fail at it, we try. At least we try. We attempt, okay? So if you want to do that and to support our channel, the information is right here. Use PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, because my channel only runs on donations from viewers like you. There's 474 of you watching right now, so I hope at least you hit the like button, the share button, and if you can contribute, I would ask you to, and I would appreciate it, because if I'm not reading them, it means I get my like to read them. So if you want to be anonymous, you just write A or AN, and I'll just read it off as anonymous, because not everybody wants the world to know that they're donating, which is totally okay, totally fine. That's hilarious. I mean, I may never wear Nikes ever again now. Thanks for ruining it for me, Kings. God. Where's Parson? I got my breadsticks. All right. Where's Delete? I got my breadsticks. You guys had that stupid breadstick money song stuck in my head for like days after that show. Like days. I'm telling you. Like, yeah, that's a cuckoo. Like, yeah, that one got me. But that was even weirder. Zombies and like light numbers and like, no. Most of them are not. Some of them are, but most of them are not. Most of them are just from everywhere. All over the place. They heard about this case from here, there you are. Yeah, breadstick money. Some of them are like Rita. But most of them, no. Most of them are from all over the place. here, there, and everywhere, really. They heard about the case online, read some of the lies, bought into some of the lies. Some of those lies were then debunked. They just ignored it, on and on and on and on and on. I'm sorry, but when things start getting debunked and then you go back and go, but that's not what happened. I watched it. And everyone else is like, what did you watch? Because I've just replayed it 17 times and what you're saying happened, it didn't happen. So like, I honestly have to wonder if a lot of these people have a problem processing information, and they have like processing speed delays with processing information and understanding what they're hearing or reading. Maybe the legalese is screwing them up. Maybe the way it's being said is screwing them up. I don't know. But there are a lot of people who don't even understand a single word of what's being said, because what they're repeating is not actually what was being said. So it's either, one, they're doing it on purpose. B, they have some sort of processing speed delays, cognitive delays. Or 3, they're just fucking stupid. I mean, I don't know. It's one of the fucking 3. Like... sorry to burst your bubble, Sammy, but nobody destroyed any phones. One was handed in to a phone company after a year, and there was no order on said phone. The other one was thrown away. Do you know how many phones I've thrown away? Do you know how many SIM cards I've cut? What the fuck am I going to do with them? I'm not going to keep them in a junk drawer. They're either worth money, or by the time I get rid of them, they're not. So, in that case, I cut the SIM card because that's what I've been always taught to do. You don't want anybody dumpster diving and stealing your personal information. Bank accounts that you accidentally left on there, information like your emails and shit. Like, you cut it and you throw it out. No, see, this is where you were lied to. It wasn't the day before the preservation order. It was actually a month before the preservation order ever existed. FYI. For Brian Albert, at least, and that was still denied. So whether we got rid of the phone or not didn't really matter, because it was still denied. And it was a whole month before, not a day before, a month. You have to go back and look at the forms. It's a month before, not a day. Like, see, this is the same bullshit you guys just spew. Do you know what approximate means, darling? You know what approximate means? Yeah? Do you know what that means? These people weren't looking at clocks and were like, oh, it's 12:45. I'm looking out the window now. I'm going to remember it was 12:45. I was looking out the window. These are approximate times. You guys take approximate times and make them like act like they're like the exact time that this happened. So this couldn't happen because this is the exact time. And it's been repeated over and over. Well, I don't know the exact time, but approximately means around about time. Like, maybe you weren't listening to her whole testimony, because she said she looked out periodically. She remembers texting, looking out. Doesn't mean she looked out at that very second. That wasn't the point. The point was she would text and then look out after a minute. Text, then maybe look out after a minute. The last time she texted, she was very clear that she had not looked out that time. The dog's in Vermont, honey. The defense, and I know this for 1,000% fact, because I knew where the dog was when I was still thinking Karen was innocent back in the summer. So I know for 1,000% fact, the defense knew that the dog was in Vermont, just like I knew the dog was from Vermont. So I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm sorry you've been lied to. I'm sorry that you have been duped. I'm sorry that you have been told things are fact when they're not. But that's the problem with this case, is people keep spewing things as if they're 100% fact and saying things, parroting things that other people say when they're not fact, right? It's weird, Natalie. It's weird. It's weird, right? I was actually driving through West Bridgewater the other day, and I was thinking about just the area and the O'Keeffes and the shit that they've had to deal with. And, yes, they did. People seem to forget this part, Kings. They seem to forget that not only did they get permission from the FBI, but the FBI also told the judge that they were allowed to say this in open court, that their clients aren't under investigation. They are no targets of any investigation. But they forget that happened, or they just gloss over it, or the newer people don't even know why, because the cult isn't going to tell them that. It was said in open court in pretrial, and they just sort of skim over it so that the new people don't realize that happened, so that they can still try to tell these people that the FBI are magically coming. and that they're magically going to drop down from the ceiling and arrest people they're not going to arrest. Like, you know, it's how they get the cult together, man. You know, yeah, no dog DNA. You know, they just like to skim over that too. Remember when they said that, oh, it was a dog treat that they found. The pig was a dog treat. Well, geniuses, in order for it to be a dog treat, dog DNA would have to be wrapped up in it if it was in the dog's mouth. You absolute geniuses. There's no dog DNA where a dog would have had to bite through clothes. Therefore, there's no dog bite. Also, if you're going to blame Chloe, tell me why her bite patterns don't match anything that's on John. What? I mean, there's a bunch of random people running around her town and every other town acting like wackadoos. So you got to keep an extra good eye on your kids nowadays because, yeah, these people throw things in people's yards. They scream, they yell, they follow you. Like, don't get it twisted. They do some crazy shit. Oh, I believe some of the experts, but when an expert sits there and says, well, scientifically, if I knew that there was DNA, a hair, she was screaming, I hit him, and that there was taillight pieces on his clothes, that would change nothing. I will tell you that the scientific community is laughing at him. And the scientific community is appalled that anyone would claim that. And right now what they're saying is he clearly rather would be right than answer the question in the correct way, which is, of course, that would have changed because you have to have all the information to make it a correct opinion. And with science, having the information is important. Not only that, but they did 2 tests that had nothing to do with anything. They fired a glass at a car, actually at a bumper that was held together with vice grips. Okay. At 10 degrees warmer than it even was outside. For what reason? I have no fucking idea. And the other test they did was trying to test to see if a man could hit his head off a tailgate, which nobody ever said happened. So therefore they did 2 tests that had absolutely nothing to do with anything and was in no theory that the Commonwealth was giving whatsoever. So yeah, I believe plenty of experts like the Celebrate expert, Ian Whiffen, Jessica Hyde, and Tripper Garino, who said 2:27 a.m. is the time that the tab was either moved, closed. It's for a tab. It is not for a Google search. You cannot use it. You can't use a DBWA file for a timestamp for a Google search. Mr. Green had to call Ian Whiffen's team to read the data, but never called them back. I'm pretty sure that the guy that you call for the information is right. I believe Baby Shark over those experts because if you're going to lie, you are uncredible. If you're going to lie and say that more information wouldn't change anything, then you are not credible anymore. Just like DME said, it could have. It could have. That's what a correct medical or scientific person would say. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Because of course it's possible. But when you sit there and say, nope, wouldn't have changed anything for me to know all this very important information, that is not credible. Not by a long shot. Physically impossible to be thrown how far? Who said it was thrown far? See, that's the problem. Oh my God. See, this is where, like, I keep giving this advice and you can choose not to take it or not. But, honey, please don't try to read things that you have no idea what you're talking about. Please don't try to understand data that you have no idea what you're talking about. Whether he used 14, 15, 16, 17, it doesn't matter. What you're reading is Celebrate. The extraction of the information goes into Celebrate. Okay? No. See, you weren't listening. Trooper Paul did not say he threw a glass 30 feet. That's not, no one said that, honey. See, again, this is where you guys need to learn how to open your ears. Celebrate is where you read the information, no matter what iOS it comes from. Celebrate then had to make a different source of it so that people like Green would stop reading it incorrectly. He had to then apologize on the stand for that and had to admit that he knew that they changed it because he read it incorrectly. So, again, you said thrown. Who the hell said his body was thrown? Again, you're assuming that he sailed through the air like Superman. No one said that. Like, no one said that. Like, It was absolutely credible. And I will tell you, I have friends that work, and I'm not even going to say where, but, and you should see them, like, they're laughing at him. Like, he made himself very uncredible to the scientific community. No scientist would ever get on the stand and say, nope, all that important information wouldn't change anything. You couldn't. It instantly makes you not credible. Like, oh, Sammy, I'm totally done answering your questions because I think that you know the answers to them. I think that you're just trolling at this point. Nobody at 34 Fairview was acting shady. They're acting shady. Why? Because you said they are? There was nothing shady that they did. Do you know that their testimony was near identical to their grand jury testimony? You know why that is? I'll tell you. Because the truth doesn't change, darling. It doesn't change. It does not change. You know what did change? The conspiracy theory. Numerous times over the course of that trial, they put people in, they took people out, they did the fucking hokey pokey, and they turned themselves around. You know. I literally can't. How do you believe a vast conspiracy theory with 80 plus people when there's tail light in the man's clothing, when the car shows what time she backed up, that his phone never leaves the lawn, and he never goes in the house, that there is no dog DNA, that the bite patterns from Chloe do not match what is on John by a long shot? So how do you believe some vast conspiracy theory? I have evidence to prove what happened. You have a conspiracy theory and a dog bite lady that made the comment of, well, he had clothes on. Thank you, Captain Obvious. You said you read the UC Davis report, but you couldn't tell them a single thing that was in the UC Davis report, which is that they took the swabs from all the clothes in the place where a dog would have had to bite through the clothes to the body. And there was zero dog DNA. That the bite patterns did not match. I'm sorry that you've been lied to and you don't know how to cope with it. I apologize for that. Doesn't change the facts, darling. Doesn't change the truth, and it doesn't change what happened that night by a long shot. You want to answer why Karen Reed said she dropped him off at the waterfall when she knows that she dropped him off at 34 Fairview, she claims. Remember, later on in that other interview, I dropped him at 34 Fairview and I watched him walk up the driveway, she said. First, she said she dropped him off at the waterfall and they got in a fight. Remember? Then she said she struck something, but she didn't see the damage. So she didn't check. She knew her taillight was broken, but she didn't look for the damage. So how do you know your taillight's broken if you didn't look for the damage? McFly? Anyone? Why'd you call your parents at 1 a.m? Why'd you say you got hit by a plow? Why'd you change the story 3 times at the house before you ever left to 3 different people? Why was Karen Reed acting so shady? Just saying. You guys can't apply your same logic to Karen Reed because it just doesn't pan out. You guys say people were shady, except here's the problem with that. All those witnesses' stories are backed up by other witnesses, including the EMTs, the firefighters, the other police officers that don't know anyone. Like, you know who isn't their story backed up by anyone? Lucky, you couldn't even see, not even 5 feet in front of him at an illuminated board, but you magically want to believe he saw into a dark corner that 14 other people and cops on the scene couldn't see. Sure. Yep. I'm definitely going to rely on that guy saying he never saw a body, so there was not one there. The guy that hit the whole giant basketball hoop, that guy. Yeah, sure. Got it. Sure. That's another thing they don't seem to realize. Like, so they left him out on the front lawn, alive, hoping that he would just die and wouldn't wake up and tell everybody what happened. Cops did that, right? An ATF agent and a Boston cop with the fugitive squad. They just left him on the front of the lawn. They didn't take him out back where they could go through the gate, drop him off in the woods near railroad tracks, right? And just say he stumbled out there. They put him right on the front of the lawn and we're like, meh, hopefully he doesn't live. Meh, hopefully Karen doesn't come back. Meh, hopefully he doesn't tell people what we did. With all the evidence, do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Stop it. Stop. Right. Like, what kind of actual fuck sense does that make? Like, stop. I have to go with what Kat said again. No actual real life doctor, scientist, medical would ever say that more data wouldn't change anything. You made yourself uncredible in that very moment you said that, because we're talking about the same doctor whose wife then joined a free Karen Reed group the day after he testified, before the trial was even over, which is now going to cause a very big problem with his credibility going forward, like as it should. Come on. Stop it. She's up to quite a few now. Quite a few different stories on this. Quite a few. Yeah, the basketball hoop that he hit. Right. Yeah, that was another story. Yep. Honey, he didn't see a Ford Edge. You know what he saw? He saw a Lexus when Karen Reed came back that morning before she went to Jen McCabe's house. You think that he saw a Ford Edge when he couldn't even see a giant illuminated board 5 feet in front of him in a courtroom? Oh, honey. Hey, mean, I see your comment. Which one? Is like YouTube filtering it or something? Is that the problem? Write it again. Just write it in like a different way, because I don't see one above this one either. Right? Like, throw them in the neighbor's lawn. Say they did it. Like, I answered every single one of your questions. Every single one of your dumb questions I answered. But you haven't answered any of mine. Oh, she knew it was over. Very much over. She lied to someone to get Brian Albert's number, guys. She lied to this person. It was like, oh, I had it. I lost it. To then text him. Sounds like she knew it was over, no? Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I'm not getting any random guys' numbers. Like, what the hell? Right? Everyone was drunk. Like, Chloe wasn't in the closet. Chloe was laying near the closet on her thing. And also, remember, the TV was on. I don't know how much you hear in your house after a night of drinking with your TV on, but I ain't going to hear shit. And I live in a complex where if you walk up my stairs in my hallway, if you're in my living room, you can pretty much hear everyone walking, going out the door or going up to their apartments. But if I fall asleep in my living room with this TV on, I'm not hearing anything. Definitely not during a blizzard. And no, my dogs aren't barking. Why? Because they hear that kind of noise all the time. They hear people moving all the time. And especially when it's nighttime, dogs aren't going to magically bark. If I'm sleeping, they're sleeping. Like, they're sleeping. Like, unless I get up. If I got up, then the dog would get up. But if I'm in bed, my dog ain't getting up. My dog's not magically barking unless someone's banging at the door. Like, and even then, sometimes the dogs, when they're sleeping, they're just sleeping. Like, it depends on the dog. Maybe some of the yippy smaller ones. But like I said, my daughter has 2 large dogs, a German Shepherd and a Husky. And neither one of them just magically bark every time they hear a noise outside. They just don't. I definitely agree with that. Oh, yeah, it must have been YouTube filtering it out. They do that. Why bother coming to a channel that you don't agree with, Sammy? Why bother coming to a channel to just deny every piece of evidence? Why not go watch a channel that ignores all the evidence and like echo chambers then? Like, what's the point of coming here? Like, I can agree with that. A mother's intuition is never wrong. Okay, that latest motion has about 0% chance of any dismissals, just so everyone's fully aware. There is a 0.0.0.0% chance anything is going to be dismissed. Just know that. Brian could have arrived when Colin was leaving. So he could have seen Colin when Colin was leaving if Brian was one of the first people to arrive. It's not rocket science to figure that out. He was one of the only people that Brian didn't know. Right. Exactly. Not only that, but she's changed her story like a dozen times, even continuing on now. Brian Higgins was never part of this conspiracy theory. Okay. They barely talked about Brian Higgins at all throughout the last year. Okay. Until trial. And then they put Brian Higgins in as like the main person in this. Remember, before it was Brian Albert and Colin. Brian Higgins wasn't even really a part of this conspiracy theory. They barely talked anything about him, trying to keep texts a secret. So they didn't say much about Brian Higgins. Okay. Hence why Jill Daniels was like, what about Brian Higgins? Because they knew about those texts, right? Obviously. And they wouldn't bring up Higgins because they didn't want the text to get out. So they didn't barely talk about Brian Higgins. It was only during trial that they sort of moved Colin out of the conspiracy when the whole, well, didn't you yell at him when he cut through the lawn? Nope, that was Dylan. Wasn't Colin. You know about the beer cans? Nope, it was a different kid, and the police have a report for that. Nothing to do with Colin at all. So when those two things didn't pan out and there was no longer a motive for Colin, they took him out of the conspiracy at the end and added in Higgins. Now it's Higgins, right? He's so angry. He's so upset that the 9 days that they texted back and forth here and there, yep, he's definitely gonna kill John over it. Stop it. Like, stop it. He's gonna be at the same place that his friend is. No, it's not weird to text your friend and say, are you coming here? You've never texted your friend when you went somewhere knowing they were going to be at that party and texted them and say, hey, are you coming? You think that that's shady? That's the problem. Like, I've answered every single question. Every question that you have put up, I have answered. So I don't know. What do you mean? Can you answer one question? I've answered every question that you put there. Like, you're calling it shady because you decide now what's shady and what isn't. I can think of many times I've texted someone when I found out someone was going to be somewhere and being like, hey, are you coming here? Like, or how far are you? And if you act like you've never done that, you'd be lying. So what's shady about that exactly? They were friends, remember? Like, nothing shady about it. Like, do you know how many butt dials happen in my group chats a day? I think we've been over this. Like, legitimately, I have video chat butt dialed. And you can ask people who are in my group because they've done it back when they're at work sometimes from inside their purse, sometimes from in the cup holder in their car. Mine just happens to be when I'm like sitting here. I don't even know how it's doing it. Like one time when I was sleeping, it happens probably 4 to 5 days out of a 7-day week that one of us accidentally either butt calls or butt video chats one of my group chats from either X or Facebook. Happens literally all the time. Like last week, one person butt dialed and then I butt dialed back and then they butt dialed back a third time. And we laughed for like a half an hour afterwards because we were like, oh, I thought double butt dials couldn't happen. We just triple butt dialed. Like if you're trying to deny that butt dials happen, especially when you sleep with your, like I keep my phone in the bed, like it's plugged in, the charger plugged, and I put it right at the top of the bed, like under my pillow, because I have a child with a medical condition. So if an emergency happens, I need to know, right? And she's an adult, so she doesn't live at home, so I need to know. So I keep my phone very close to me. What do you mean as he was dying? You're acting as if they knew he was out there dying. They didn't. That's the whole point. So yeah, they were having sex because they didn't know someone was on their lawn dying. You know, people tend to do that sometimes when they drink. I mean, I know I do. Maybe you don't. Sorry for you if you don't, but many people do. Not only did she not, but do you remember the message she left John? John, nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows where you are? She hadn't asked a single person where John was at that point yet. So what do you mean, nope? That was just 20 minutes after she supposedly dropped him off, remember? Nobody knows where you are. So Free Karen Reed says she wasn't drunk, right? It's water. right? Even though they have the receipts, it's just magic water. It's magic water. She wasn't drunk, okay? But 20 minutes after she dropped him off, she's leaving a message saying, nobody knows where you are. What? Like, what? Like, what? Once again, unless they have a crystal ball and they magically can tell what's happening, they didn't know he was dying. So, yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, your answer makes no sense. They did not know he was dying. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? What? Two of them did see it. What are you talking about? They testified to seeing it. So I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, see, happens. No, she doesn't. And you know what? You got to just laugh at them at this point, because it's like they're going to keep attacking you no matter what. So it's like, you know, right? Like, right? Like, makes no sense. That's technically a butt dial, right? It doesn't have to be your body part that dials. It's just a phone. It's called a butt dial when your phone does it. Like, it can be a body part, like, but it can just be your phone dialing. And I've had it do it. I have an Android. So yeah, been there, done that. I'm sure that was a very awkward conversation. Oh, they did, for 16 months that she did not take. For 16 months, there was a deal on the table that she then didn't take. Apparently not. Apparently not. See, this is where you're just repeating things that people told you. And that's the problem with this trial, is people just repeating things that they have been told with no actual real life truth to any of it, just repeating it. It's half the problem with this whole thing. Right. Why didn't she? Oh, do I have to? Are you one of those people that seem to think that like an inverted video will show you something that you can't see in the video if you flip it? Please don't tell me you're one of those people. Well, if you are, I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but if in the video you can't see to the left, even if you flip it, you still can't see to the left. Inverting the video changes absolutely not a single thing that happened in the video. Not a single thing. It changes nothing. Like, as far as I know, yes, they will for the same things. I would guess the same thing. You know what else she didn't do? She didn't check the house. Carrie said, did you check the house? She said, no. That's why they went back to John's, because she never checked the house. When I wake up in the morning, if my husband's not in the bed, what do you think the first thing I do is? Check the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen. That's what I do. Check the house. She never checked the house. Why? Because you knew he wasn't there. Common sense. You didn't check the house because you knew he wasn't there. Also, you left a message, once again, 20 minutes after you dropped him off. Nobody knows where you are. Why would you leave a message like that if you knew where you dropped him off? If you thought people in the house killed him, right? Or if you thought something bad happened to him, why would you leave a message saying nobody knows where you are? Makes no sense. Lots of people don't seem to know how a mirror works. You put a mirror up, right? If you can't see what's behind my couch in that mirror, when you flip the image, you still can't see what's behind my couch. Just FYI. Honey, you can't see the broken taillight no matter what. No matter whether it's inverted or flipped the opposite way, you still can't see the taillight. So no, it's not important, because whether it's inverted or not inverted, you still can't see the taillight. That's what you're failing to understand. Apparently, many of you don't see. Again, this is about talking about something that you literally have no idea what you're talking about. Like, if you've never edited a video and you've never clicked the button to invert, a video or turn it around the other way, mirror the image, then I guess you wouldn't know. But then don't speak on things you don't know about. If you can't see it when it's inverted, you can't see it when you flip it the other way. It's not how it works. I did see that. It's a very sad situation. Except you still can't see it, whether it was there or not. He's a cop. He was doing his job, looking at it and then taping it. That's what cops do, usually their job. You still wouldn't be able to see him whether you inverted the video or not. You still wouldn't magically be able to see around the corner, just so you're aware. Like, oh man. No, it's not, it's 100% fact. Literally 100% fact. No, she did not. She said, John, nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows where you are. So what do you mean? Carrie Roberts asked her, did you look in the house? She said, no. That's why they went back to the house to look for him, because she didn't look. Once again, 100% fact. What do you mean? She was going anywhere that they needed to look for John. They didn't invert it. They just didn't click the button to make sure it turned itself around. What do you mean? It's very easy to do. Again, I'm guessing you've never edited a video before, ever in your life, because you clearly have no idea what you're talking about. And that's half the problem with this, is half these people talking about shit they have no idea about, acting like they do. And it just makes them look silly. If you really think that you'd magically be able to see around a corner with the video inverted, if you flip it around, then you need to get your head checked and maybe don't talk about something before you actually do research into that subject. Now Matt McCabe was magically checking the crime scene. What the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Good night. Thank you. That's the point right there. You can't. It's that simple. I have no idea. I don't know if that to be true, Black Rose. I don't know that to be true. I know that Tom might have had a little crush, but I have no idea if that's true. It's just really a rumor at this point. Yep, sure was. Well before, long before. Also, Proctor was never alone. He was always with someone else. No, I don't. Not at all. Do you know how many way back in the day when I was much younger, how many of my boyfriend's friends would blow down, try to text me like creeps and try to tell on said boyfriend for doing something to try to get in my pants? It's happened so many times, and then act like they're still boys when they see each other. And me not wanting to ruin a bromance or a broship, just said nothing, because if nothing happened, I'm not going to say anything. Like, no, I don't think it's weird. I've literally seen it happen a billion times. And if you haven't, I'd say you probably have never lived. Like, what do you mean? Like, no, see, I think you miss the context of that. Like, you're stating things that aren't true, or you're spinning them or intertwining them. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to get Karen Reeded, so I probably wouldn't. Like, you want to know why I have an answer, Sammy? It's called the truth, darling, because the truth has answers to it. You know what doesn't? Giant conspiracies. Imagine that one, huh? Imagine that. There's a reason I have an answer. It's because it's the truth. If you don't like it, you can see yourself out, and you can continue believing in that conspiracy that you clearly believe in. Go right ahead. So what? Do you know how many times I text my neighbors and I'm like, hey, the cops are at building 2. You might want to text so-and-so and see if they're okay. What's your point? People are inherently nosy. What's your point? Also, they were talking to a news station when half of that text group message was. You also didn't get to read the rest of the group message. If you did, you probably understand better. No, it's not that they have you blocked. It's they're on X. So you can't see anything because they're on X. I can't. I can't. Except we do. Yeah, they were digging for probably pieces of taillight or any other evidence they could find. Actually, I do know. See, that's where you would be wrong. That's where you would be wrong. If she was quote unquote innocent, she would have been found not guilty. No. Yeah, clearly people did believe what the truth was, whether you like it or not. Tom Beatty, he was kind of mad because his underage daughter got exposed for kind of being an underage, how do I put this nicely, promiscuous girl when all of this happened. And instead of sort of dealing with the problem, he wanted to take it out on everyone else and spread rumors and call them names because he wasn't ready to deal with the fact that his daughter was being promiscuous. That's on him. See, you don't, but I do. See, that's the difference. You might not, but I do. Want to know why? Because I've seen the evidence. See that? Like, under the snow. Remember when you were told it was like magically placed on top of the snow? Do you remember that? That was false snow, wasn't it? We have the videos of them using the snowblower in little pieces by pieces, letting the snow go back and forth to try to look for any evidence they could find. What do you mean? The CERT team used shovels. You think I would magically tell you how? Yeah, I'll get right on that. Sure. Sure. Yep, sure. Why didn't they find her not guilty? Why didn't they find her not guilty? Sorry to burst your bubble, but she's going for a second trial. She's going to be retried on these charges. So, and you can bet that they changed their conspiracy the second time around. And I'm going to love when you guys try to explain that away, because it's truth, once again, doesn't change. Truth is the truth, and it doesn't change. So when they change the conspiracy again, once again, I'm going to love how you guys explain that one away. It's going to be amazing. Bingo. Bingo. I think they just want to believe in this conspiracy so badly that they'll say whatever. They'll come up with whatever excuse, whatever bullshit that they've been fed. And then even when they realize that some of it they were fed is a lie, they still can admit that they were fed a lie. Not a single one of them. Like, oh shit, you know what? That did happen. You're right. That was wrong. You're correct. They still can't admit it. Magically, taillight embedded itself into John's clothes with CERT team members standing there. Proctor was never alone. So you're now saying that other officers were involved in planting taillight, microscopic taillight embedded into his clothes. Yeah. Where did he smash the taillight? And magically go sprinkle the pieces beef because the CERT team was already digging them up. There's numerous of them there. So unless he did it in front of all them and somehow got it underneath the snow, their theory doesn't add up. The conspiracy doesn't add up. None of that. And again, with a changing conspiracy, adding people in, taking people out. Kerry Roberts was a part of it, remember? Because if Jen McCabe was a part, Kerry Roberts was a part of it. You guys remember that? For a full year, Kerry Roberts was in on it. Then they took her out. Didn't have a single question to cross her on. Well, you would think if somebody was so involved in this cover-up, you would ask her a question. You would cross her on one thing. At least one thing. They took Kerry out of that conspiracy. Completely. So sad that you believe the experts that didn't have all the information, but not the 11 plus witnesses that all tell the same story. You're so genius, let me tell you. An absolute genius. Well, I think we know that. Oh, well, they had to move the crime outside because John's phone never left the yard in the place that he was found in. So remember, it was in the basement first. First, it was in the basement, then out the bulkhead, all the way around the house with nobody seeing it, and no footprints and no blood anywhere over there that was dripping from the back of his open gaping wound head, right? Nothing over there at all. But yeah, his phone never moved from the spot he was found in. John never entered the house. Also, remember the steps we were told about for a year that we then found out later on, per John's ways, even if you magically gave them the 3 minutes they were going on and on and on about, which had literally nothing to do with anything and isn't even a thing, still would have been still in the car. So he was taking steps in the car. He hadn't even arrived at Fairview yet. So where's he taking steps? Pieces of it started falling apart. And so instead of like trying to explain them further, because that won't work, they sort of just tossed those pieces out. And we're like, all right, you know what? That piece didn't work and it didn't hit like we thought it was. So we're just going to throw that piece out. And then, we'll add something else in to make it sound good. The doubling down is amazing. Actually, there is a chain of custody. Also, once again, none of the officers were ever alone. None of them were alone. So again, if you're saying that they're all in on a conspiracy, like you have to know how ridiculous that sounds, considering none of them were ever alone with anything. Like, they did say that. She got the blanket from her trunk, though, not from the house. She absolutely told the cops that. What do you mean? She absolutely told them that. Oh, they just keep going over and over and over and over. It's a 4-minute drive, right? From Fairview to Meadows is a 4-minute drive. You aware of that? Apparently you're not. Oh, now Yuri's in on it? Funny, because not even the defense is claiming Yuri's in on it. So you can go with the theory all you want. Not even the defense is claiming that. It's not 6 to 7. It's a 4-minute drive. I know how I know? I've done it numerous times. I don't need to Google map it. I've done it numerous times. It is a 4-minute drive. 4. Driving the speed limit. You just did. You said Yuri. None of them were ever alone. So unless you're going to say that Yuri is in on it, because that's who Proctor was with, then once again, your conspiracy doesn't make sense. I don't know, because Google probably goes around in a circle. Normal people from that area know you wouldn't go like this to go to Meadows. You would go through, not around. It's a 4-minute drive. I've done it 1.5 billion times. And so has anybody who lives in that area. 4 minutes. Probably. Probably. Well, I do just, for the end of this here, I want to let you guys know that's about 0. I'm sorry. Do you speak for everyone in Canton? Because no, not everyone in Canton believes this crazy cockamamie story. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't. A lot of people think it's fucking ridiculous conspiracy theory, and it's absolute nonsense. Like, didn't know that you magically spoke for everyone in Canton now. No, honey. See, that's a minority. It's just a loud minority of people. So you call it overwhelming public outcry because you watch a TV and just assume that. Usually, until like the last 2 days of trial, there was like 50 people outside the courthouse. I wouldn't call that an overwhelming public cry. Sorry to tell you, most people who live in Canton think it's fucking stupid and ridiculous, and they're done with hearing the ridiculous conspiracy theory they know is not possible. But please, by all means, speak for all the people that live in Canton Do you realize that 2/3 of the people who show up to those Canton meetings don't live there? They don't even live in Canton. You realize that, right? They don't even live in Canton. These are people from outside towns that come there to make it a spectacle. Literally 2/3 of the people that show up at the town meetings are people who don't even live in the town. Like, yeah, that's true. Right. So many people would have to be in on it. It's like it's like not only ridiculous, like it's lunacy. Like you said at this point. Like, if you know the actual details, okay? If you know the actual details of what happened and why they did X, Y, and Z, why they didn't do A, B, and C, why this person did this, why this person did that, and that, because remember, a lot of the context was taken out of it for trial on purpose to make people think that it was some sort of nefarious, like Brian throwing his trash away. There is no trash in his town. You have to go to a dump, which requires a dump sticker. It's only open during certain times. You got to pay for more things that you got to dump. So the smartest idea, which is what I did when I lived in Kingston, was dump it in a dumpster at someone's house who lives in a complex because it's free. And then I don't have to pay for the dump sticker. I'm going to do the times. It didn't work for my schedule because Kingston does not have trash pickup. What they failed, and I think even Lally failed on this one, to make very clear was that is where Brian Higgins had always thrown his trash out while living there. And that's where he continued to throw his trash out while living there. Always. I used to date someone that lived on Otis Air Force Base. And it's very easy to sort of cut through one side and get out the other onto the main strip, onto the main highway there. And again, I guess if you don't sort of know, then you could make it sound nefarious by being like, he went all the way over to to an Air Force base to throw his trash out. That's super shady. But without the context of the fact that there is no trash pickup there and that he always threw his trash out there before and after that, it's not nefarious. It's literally where he always threw his trash out. He didn't just put a phone in one bag and a SIM in another and only throw those two things away. It was all of his trash. All of his trash. On top of it. It's just trash in general. Like, you realize that Brian Higgins has an office at the CPD, right? That's where he works out of. Right? Once again, that's where he works out of. Why would you do that during a blizzard? Well, I don't know. When I worked at the prison, they would send police cars to come get us if our cars couldn't get out. Why? Because we're essential personnel. Because we still have to work. If you work at a prison or a hospital or you're a cop, you still have to work, whether it's a blizzard or not. And they will send cruisers or ambulances to come get you, to bring you to work if your car will not make it out. He was not off. Who told you he was off? He was not off. He was working. Once again, you're assuming this. He was not off. It's abundantly clear that he was not off. He was working. In my ear. So people I don't know are in my ear. Well, please tell me how that's possible. For the love of Pete. Because I have never met the McCabe's. So I would love to know how that's possible. Please fill me in. No, they can't. Remember I told you guys, make a group chat. Tell some ridiculous thing that's not even like real, but make it sound like it's a secret, right? With 4 people. See how long that lasts before someone else asks you about it or knows about it. I guarantee you it doesn't last a month. Doesn't last a fucking month. Like, so true. So true, Kings. So true. Because he was working. What do you mean? He went there at 2 a.m. to move the car. I thought that was like abundantly clear that they had told him like, hey, you can't keep the car there. Like, so he went back to move it so he didn't get yelled at by the CPD. That's pretty clear that he went there to move the car. It's not hard to understand. But this is where you just ignore shit and go, it's so shady that a cop was at a police station at 2 a.m. moving his car. Why? Because the defense said it was shady. So why would he go there? To move a car so that he didn't get yelled at on his way home. What do you mean? Like, FYI, he works all hours, not just daytime hours, but nighttime hours as well. And yes, he was there the next day working. Right. I can't. It's like common sense. So it's hard for me to not understand how these people don't fucking get it. Like, yes, that's called administrative work. When I worked at the prison, if you went out to clean the van where you transported people, that's administrative work. Did you know that? Oh, you probably didn't because you've never worked in that field. So again, here you are making a fool out of yourself, assuming you know something that you don't, and trying to make it nefarious because someone told you it's not administrative work. Someone that clearly has never worked in that field and has no idea what it entails when you work in any sort of law enforcement, prison setting, or anything like that. Yeah, because moving his car is super nefarious, super sketchy for him to move his car. Such a sketchy guy at 2 a.m. Don't move your car at 2 a.m, Brian, to not get yelled at because you've not moved it before and gotten yelled at. Don't do that. See, that's the problem. You're right, you don't. But sure acting like you do. Sure acting like you have some sort of idea of everything that must be nefarious because you said so or because someone told it to you. Like, half? No, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Someone fed you wrong information. 10 jurors absolutely did believe it. There was just 2 that didn't. Just 2. 1, 2. And sorry to burst your bubble, but here in Massachusetts, the second time around does not favor the defense. Consensus with who? You? The consensus with you, maybe. Once again, do you live here? Do you live here? Doesn't seem like you do. Seems like you listened to the trial. Well, clearly you didn't pay attention because you've stated many things that have been just outright false. So you definitely didn't pay attention. Like, no, see, I don't get my information from Grant. I get my information from people who would actually have knowledge of the things that I talk about. So I don't get my information from random people online. That seems to be where you guys get your information from. Someone says it and you just parrot it, just regurgitate the same shit that you heard from someone else or read from someone else. See, I actually do this thing called checking your sources with multiple sources of people that would actually have knowledge of those things. That's what you do when you say things. You check the information so that you're not giving people false information and parroting lies that may hurt people. I don't know who reported 10. I checked with my own sources who would have knowledge of how many, and that is what I got. Then numerous other people I know got the same numbers from other sources. I got my information on my own because I don't need to go and go, oh, look what this person said online. I'm just going to say that. That's not how I roll here. What? You realize that one of them saw John in the car, right? Just because they didn't see him doesn't mean he's not there. Just like not seeing him on the lawn doesn't magically make him not there. Have you ever been to that yard, by the way, Fairview, at nighttime? Have you ever seen it? I'm going to guess you haven't. So let me just fill you in on a little bit here. That corner of the yard has no lights. There are no street lights close to it. It's very dark. It's dim, especially in the rain or the snow. And it's half in a mulch bed between some bushes and some taller trees on the line of the property. It is extremely dark over there. So if you're not looking over at that point of the yard, which nobody would have a reason to look that way since their cars are over here, not over here, then you wouldn't see him. Nagel's passenger saw him in the car, male and female. So once again, this is where I go back to, clearly you didn't watch the trial or you didn't pay attention because the passenger saw him. In the car, genius. In the car. They saw him in the car with Karen Reed. I'm wrong. Oh, I can't. Oh, honey. Honey, everybody saw the testimony. Neither? You know, there was 3 people in that car, right? Not 2? 3. 3 people were in that car, darling. Not 2. But I'm wrong, and you don't even know there was 3 people in the car. I can't. I cannot even deal. Oh, man, the trolls are out in force tonight. Amazing. Oh, so amazing. You guys might want to stop trying because you make yourself look like fools. Make yourself look like absolute fools. I want to go back and rewatch that trial that you paid so much attention to, obviously. Oh, man. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm wrong, but you didn't even know there was 3 people in the car. Right. Gotcha. Sure thing. That too. His phone also puts him in the car via his Waze and GPS data, but sure, we'll just ignore that part too. Also, FYI, Karen says he was in the car. So, yeah, she doesn't even dispute that. It's funny when they start just trying to like dispute things that like not even the defense is claiming in any sort of way, or not even Karen is claiming, or that she has actually claimed the opposite in real life interviews. I find that to be the funniest thing. Right. It's amazing to me. Isn't it amazing, guys? I think it's quite amazing. Like, that, cuz, first of all, not your cuz. Secondly, you try to keep up. That's exactly when they saw John. Let's try to keep up, darling. Okay? Let's try to keep up. Nobody's your cuz here. Moving on. Done answering stupid questions of people that clearly don't pay attention and who just want their ridiculous conspiracy narrative when it doesn't fit. The evidence doesn't fit it. And again, the truth doesn't change. The conspiracy has changed like 72 and a half times. You've added people, you've taken people out. You've added evidence, you've taken evidence out. It's dog bites, it's dog scratches. It's in the house, it's outside the house. Which fucking one is it? Karen dropped him off at the waterfall. She dropped him off at Fairview. Nobody knows where he is. 20 minutes after she dropped him off, she says she's laying next to the kids. She's not. She says she's back in Mansfield. She's not. She calls her parents at 1 a.m. Try to keep up. For the love of God. I'm going to take that minute while the chat isn't running fast to take a second out to say, I'm going to continue watching this fucking shit show, crazy people. You can donate to the channel. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and I will read it. It scrolls at the bottom of the screen. We're going to have a quick couple minutes of just sort of going over some of the things that happened today, and then we're going to end this shenanigan. My sources say it was 10 to 2 on, at least they know the lesser charges. I have no idea what it was on the bigger charge, the murder 2 charge. But when I checked with my sources, they say that nothing that they know said unanimous on any of the bigger charges. And FYI, if it was magically unanimous of not guilty on the murder too, you would have gotten a not guilty charge that would have came out, and then they would have been deadlocked on the other two. So, there's the answer to that. Imagine a cult mobster, free Karen reader, telling us that we need to keep our facts straight. It's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. Well, there's a 0% chance that any dismissals happen. So I just want everybody to know that that was just a PR campaign to put out that affidavit and that dismissal. There will be no dismissals happening. She will be tried a second time, and it will not be good for her and her defense team. They'll have to get off the third-party culprit defense, and that's not going to help them in any way, because then they'd have to change their conspiracy theory, and that's just going to prove that it's exactly that, a conspiracy theory. So thank you to B. Tim for stopping by. Thank you for everybody for watching. I will leave you guys with the outro because I'm ready to eat something. Bye.